If it's Friday night, oh yes it is. Strictly Sports NFL Friday. Hello, friends. Anthony Floyo here with you for another edition of Strictly Sports NFL Friday. Glad to have you with us. Joined as always by Girl MF, Michael Fletcher, and Michael Bullock. And, well, got a couple of things we need to address real quick before we get started on our show. Game 3 of the World Series, we finally have a score. The Cleveland Indians have finally struck a 1-0 lead. Coco Crisp with a base hit. There's now 2 outs in the top of the 7th inning. Game's on Fox. Check it out with Joe Buck and John Smoltz, along with Ken Rosenthal and Tom Verducci. It's been a fantastic game. I got to be real honest with you. I mean, it's been a 5-star pitching duel game, and the Indians strike first, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we're already into the bullpens for both sides.
Yeah, bullpens have the bullpens have been very busy. Let's just say that right now.
Yeah, both starters couldn't even get into the 6th inning.
No, indeed not. No, indeed not. And then from there, in the world of college football, goodness gracious, if you can believe it, top 25 upset has already taken place as South Florida. Well, South Florida currently leading Navy 52-39, and it looks like it's just about to go final. There's just only a handful of seconds left. I think Navy's probably going to get one more play here, but for all intents and purposes, South Florida is going to upset number 22 Navy. The score as of now is 52-39, but it looks like South Florida is going to pull the upset, guys, and that's definitely going to hurt Navy, and it's definitely going to.
It's actually a final 52-45. Looks like Navy got a late touchdown, but doesn't matter.
It's not enough. It will not be enough, and South Florida is going to pull the upset over Navy at Raymond James Stadium, and I don't know if Bucky's firing the cannons, but he's probably maybe he's there in spirit, firing those cannons at Raymond James Stadium as South Florida. I mean, they're a real deal. I mean, I think this win's going to put them in the next poll. I really do. So because they're 6-2, 3-1 in the conference, so they'll go to 7-2 and 4-1 in the conference, and it just made things interesting in that American Conference. So big win for South Florida, indeed. So last night, of course, we had a Thursday night football game. In case anybody cared or noticed, the Jacksonville Jaguars against the Tennessee Titans at Nissan Field in Nashville, and the Tennessee Titans won that game by a score of 36-22. Jacksonville's hard times continue. Tennessee back to 500. They will not be in the power poll our power rankings this week. But I might consider them for next week, though, because remember, you got to be at least 500 or better to get in. So, and that's a big win for Tennessee. So with that being said, Bullock, MF, you know the routine. Open forum. Whoever wants it, it's all yours. If you want to give a brief thought.
Well, I'm not going to waste too much time on the game.
Exactly.
It was a great performance by the Tennessee Titans. They needed this game to get themselves right back into it. Jacksonville has been one of the most disappointing teams in the NFL this season because a lot of people thought that maybe this was going to be the year where maybe they turn things around. Unfortunately, that did not transpire. But there's really not much to talk about it. Well done. Great victory. Congratulations to them. Congratulations to the Titans on a huge win. But like I said, I think what we've seen up to this point, or what we've seen so far this season, has been like I said, a little bit of a disappointment. But then again, this division is so wide open that it doesn't necessarily have to go one way or another. For Tennessee, that big win, it puts them right back in the mix for the divisional title, believe it or not. You could say at this point, the way the season's gone, that maybe an 8-8 or God help us, maybe even a possible like 7-9 might be enough to get you this division title with the way that it's going right now. So I mean, even and as much as I may say, if you're as much as you are as a Jacksonville Jaguar fan, you're only, you're two. I guess what are you 2-5 right now? You're actually 2-5. You're one loss from basically. I mean, you're 2 games out of the divisional lead, so it's not worst case scenario, not at all. So you just got to make some plays, do some better things, get some lucky breaks coming up, and we'll go from there. So, yeah, Bullock, if you want to jump in, go right ahead. If you don't, then we'll wait and see.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, this was a nice win for the Titans, and like you said, it gets them to the 500 mark, and this basically puts them in contention for the AFC South. Now, do I think they're going to win that division? I don't know. We'll wait and see. But man, Jacksonville. I mean, I was expecting so much from this team going into the season after the way they played last season, but it just hasn't blossomed out into that so far this season. And I'll tell you this right now, I think Gus Bradley is on the hot seat right now. I don't think the ownership is going to fire him, but if his team doesn't do well the rest of the season, then I think Gus Bradley's going to be gone. I'll tell you that right now. So, yeah, so nice win for the Titans, and all I can say is, those color rush jerseys just for both teams, it looked horrible. I mean, I understand the idea of it. I mean, there were some color rush jerseys I like, but the ones for both of them, no, don't like it. Sorry. Florio, let's just move on.
They got to go. Simple as that. Why can't we just go back to the traditional uniforms? That's all I ask. Go back to the traditionals. Simple as that. But a great win for Tennessee. They jumped out to a 27-0 halftime lead. Mariota was fantastic. The defense was great. So we'll definitely get more into it next week, because I'm thinking about putting them in my in the power rankings next week. They're not going to be there this week.
I'll tell you this right now, Florio. I mean, I got the Tennessee Titans as my honorable mention.
Fair enough. So,
but like I said, I need to see more from them. But I think after this win, they could be in the power rankings next week, depending on how the games go this week.
Fair enough, Bullock. Fair enough. So that's all there is to say on that. So we'll break it down. I'll break it down a little more next week. But that's our little thing. But now let's get into the games here. The games for this week. Very light docket this week, guys. We only have 12 games on the docket. As we have 6 teams on bye this week. The Baltimore Ravens, the Los Angeles Rams, the Miami Dolphins, the New York Giants, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the San Francisco 49ers, all on bye this week. So that means we're only going to have a 12-game docket on our hands this time around, and we're going to start it off with our third and final game in London, England this year. This time it's at Wembley Stadium here. The Washington Redskins going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. This is going to be at Wembley Stadium in London, England. This game's going to be on Fox. And calling this game for Fox, it'll be Kenny Albert with John Lynch and Pam Oliver. They will be at Wembley for that one. And the spread favors the Cincinnati Bengals 2.5 to 3 points. And the series history, Cincinnati leads the all-time series 5-4, Last meeting was 2012 in Washington, and the Bengals won in a shootout, 38-31. They've won the last 3 meetings in this series. Last time the Redskins beat the Bengals in this series, got to go back to their last Super Bowl year of 1991, a 34-27 win at the old Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati. So Bengals, I guess, would probably be the home team here. And 2008 was the last time they met in Cincinnati, and the Bengals won 20-13. So that's all the history on that. And our godsend, of course, our new feature this year, the Game Rater. Where did the Game Rater rank this game out of the 12 games for this week? It came in at number 9. Number 9 game of the week right here, made the top 10. The Cincinnati Bengals are looking to get their first win against a team with a winning record this season. They're 0-4 in such games this year. FPI gives the Bengals a 32% chance to make the playoffs for what would be the 6th straight season. The Washington Redskins have the hardest remaining strength of schedule, according to FPI's strength of schedule projections. While Washington was blowing a victory by allowing a last-second game-winning drive to the Detroit Lions, the Bengals got off the schneid by defeating the hapless Browns, although not exactly convincingly. These two teams are in the top 4 in terms of passing yards, so we should see plenty of aerial action in London. But I think of these two teams in terms of defense. I have more confidence in Cincinnati's defense than I do Washington's defense. So I am going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals to win this game. My final score is 26-23. The Cincinnati Bengals over the Washington Redskins in London, England. Andy Dalton's going to have a big game, I think. I like that running tandem of Hill and Bernard. And A.J. Green, I'm expecting another dynamo play from him because we saw that incredible catch he made against the Browns last week. Unreal. That's all I can say on that. And that's pretty much all I can say. I mean, I know Cousins will probably have a fine game, and Garcon and Jones, and I think Jordan Reed is on the way back. I know Michael Bullock's going to have more on that when we get to him because he'll have the injury reports for both teams like he always does. So, but nonetheless, though, I like the Cincinnati Bengals in this game. My final score, like I said, 26-23, should be a good one in London. MF, Michael Fletcher, let's bring you on in. Come on in. Washington Redskins, Cincinnati Bengals. Our final game in London in the not the final game of the international series. There's another international game.
No, there's one more. There's one more to go, and that's going to be at Estadio Azteca in Mexico City, Mexico, in the smog, boys.
Yes,
yeah, a little bit later on in the year, and I'm going to tell you, man, as a fan of the United States soccer team, if there's one place I do not like to go when it comes to any World Cup qualifying or any friendly matchups, that's the stadium I hate the most. Estadio Azteca in Mexico City, Mexico, in front of over 90 to 100,000 in that stadium. It's home of America, which is a part of their Mexican Premier Soccer League over there. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff over there, and how fitting, because the final game that we're talking about, that the battle that's gonna happen coming up over there, is the legendary, or I should say, one of my favorite stadiums in the whole world. I think Derek Ferreira always says it, the cathedral of soccer itself, Wembley Stadium, London, England, for another international matchup. And this one is actually my favorite of the entire 3. This is actually the best one of the entire 3 in my eyes, when you got the Cincinnati Bengals going up against the Washington Redskins, 2 very good, of course, the Redskins, a historic NFL powerhouse. I know a lot of people are like, oh, wait a minute, a powerhouse? Actually, yes, my friends. They are actually 3-time, I believe they're 3-time Super Bowl world champions. So I mean, they did win one, yes, again, on the expense of the Miami Dolphins. I don't even want to talk about that one, but then they beat they actually manhandled. I believe they did in the Denver Broncos in another Super Bowl, and then the third one, and Florio, you might want to cover your ears on this one. Super Bowl 26, they did in Anthony's Buffalo Bills. That was the second time Buffalo had made it to the Super Bowl in their history. The second of the four straight in a row, but Washington ended up capturing the Lombardi Trophy on that night. So here you go. And the Cincinnati Bengals, very good regular season team, but they never really got off the schneid when it came to the postseason. I think that's, I'm not really a historian type guy. I don't like to go into the histrionics or anything like that, like Florio does, because he's more of that, that professor type of the crew. So I just want to leave that for him because that's more his domain, not mine. But I will say this is going to be a very entertaining game. This is going to be a very good matchup. But I will say this, where in the offensive categories, in offensive yards per game, you're looking at the number 5 and number 6 respectively. Number 5 is the Cincinnati Bengals. Number 6 is the Washington Redskins. And I will say this, their offensive efficiency, they're going to air out the football. Andy Dalton and Kirk Cousins are very good at that. Cincinnati is better on the run than anything else. But what's going to keep them, basically, it's almost evenly matched because even defensively, they're not really that great. They're middle of the pack, what we call the second tier because you got the top 10, then you got the 20s, and then you got the belows. So there are a second tier defense. You got about near top 10 in major statistical categories for them. So they're both evenly matched. I'm going to say it. As much as we may hate Roger Goodell and some of the NFL brass in this situation, we got to get props because they actually gave us a really good matchup for London, England. And I'm with you, Anthony. I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. I think they're going to get the job done. I think A.J. Green's going to have a really good game more than anything else because there's been some injuries here and there. I know Bullock always hits us with the injury report, so I'm not going to steal Bullock's thunder on that either. But give me the give me the Cincinnati Bengals. I think they're going to get the job done. I got them winning this game. Final score for me is I got it 24-17. I got the Cincinnati Bengals. I think the Bengals, the Who Dey Bengals are going to get the job done. They're going to win this one. Bullock, injury report and your thoughts about the game.
All right. First off, the injury report, starting off with the Redskins. Matt Jones, the running back Matt Jones with a knee injury, he is out. Tight end Vernon Davis with a groin injury. Wide receiver Jamison Crowder with a groin injury. Wide receiver Deshaun Jackson with a hamstring injury. Cornerback Josh Norman with a concussion. Tight end Jordan Reed with a concussion, and tackle Trent Williams with a knee injury. They're all listed as questionable, and no real injuries are on the injury report for the Bengals. So yeah, I mean, I think this is a real good game. I mean, you got two quarterbacks, and like you said, Kirk Cousins, Nate, and Andy Dalton, and I think the factor here is going to be A.J. Green. How are the Redskins going to be able to handle him? I think it could be a tough time here, and I think it's because of that. I'm also going to go with the Bengals to win this one. I'm going to say 38-24 is going to be my final score. So, yeah, there's nothing more to say except, Florio, let's move on to the slate of 1 o'clock games.
Oh boy. And there's no better way to start off the slate of 1 o'clock games than this. Let me just say it like this.
Buddy Bowl time.
Yes. There was supposed to be a game at 1 o'clock, but that 1 o'clock game has been moved to 4:25. It's one of our co-games of the week. And we're going to get into that in just a moment. That's the Green Bay Packers and the Atlanta Falcons. That game was originally scheduled for 1 o'clock, but that got switched to 4:25. And the game the 4:25 game originally scheduled got bumped up to 1. That's going to be the game we're going to get into after this one. So a little change in the order here, but I navigated
flex scheduling.
Yep, flex scheduling indeed. But I've navigated through the order, and oh boy, are we going to have some fun now. The New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills. Ralph Wilson Stadium, New Era Field in Buffalo. They've already met this year, and who will ever forget it? It was just 4 weeks ago, on the 2nd of this month, in Foxborough, when the Buffalo Bills went in to New England and pounded the Patriots 16-0, which cut the New England series lead all time down to 68-43 with a tie. I already told you when the tie was on the previous show. We talked about this game. The Patriots have won the last 4 meetings in Buffalo. And the last time the Bills won at home against the Patriots, got to go back to that unforgettable game in 2011, Week 3, 5-star classic. Buffalo Bills won it 34-31. Ryan Lindell was the hero. And oh, by the way, Ryan Lindell is going to be in Buffalo for that game on Sunday. So I cannot wait to see him. I just wanted to get that little liner note out there. If Buffalo wins this game, it'll be the first time the Buffalo Bills have swept the New England Patriots in a single season since all the way back in 1999. 1999, Doug Flutie, the Flutie Flakes. That's the last time the Buffalo Bills swept the New England Patriots in a regular season series. Every year since 2000, there's either been there have been a couple of splits. 2000 was a split. 2003 was a split. 2011 was a split. 2014 was a split. And all the other years since were all practically New England sweeps. But the Patriots have won the last 4 meetings in Buffalo. 3 of those 4 by 2 of them were by 1 score. The other 2 were by well more than 1 score. And so that's the story on that. That's the schematics. Calling this game for CBS. The game's on CBS, and of course it's going to be on our affiliate, WPRI 12. Iron Eagle, Dan Fouts, Evan Washburn, they'll be there for the Patriots and the Bills. And the spread, of course, it favors New England, 5.5 to 6.5. That shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. I already went down the series history. And where did the Game Rater rank this game? Gentlemen, welcome to the game of the week. They rated this game at number 1. MF, you and I, of course, we're busy with the World Series, and rightfully so. But if you were around,
this would have been our game.
This would have been our game. So with that being said, hello, friends. Do the Phil Simms. You're the Phil Simms to my Jim Nance, as everybody knows. So do that Phil Simms thing I like for the game of the week. And what a game in the AFC East.
You know what? This is a very important game. And, for New England, maybe there's a little bit of some revenge on their mind. But for Buffalo, there's a major sour taste in the mouth. And boy, are they steaming mad after being upsetted last week by my Miami Dolphins. I'm going to be real honest with you. I'm not going to rub it in because, we had a little bit of back and forth, and I told Anthony, and I said it, when you come down to Miami, when you come into our house, that you better be ready for 60 minutes of hell. And he mockingly told me, oh, we're so scared and everything else. Well, 60 minutes of hell it was, and let me tell you, Buffalo did not come out of this game unscathed. LaShawn McCoy re-injured his hamstring. We don't know the full status. From what I'm hearing, he's a go. He will play, which is very which is very good for Buffalo because you're probably going to need all hands on deck. However, you did suffer a major loss on the defensive end. You did lose Aaron Williams to what was, and I'll even admit it. It was a dirty hit. Jarvis Landry laid him out with a dirty hit, a high hit up around the helmet, a shoulder to the face mask. A lot of people were yelling, why was that not a suspension or anything else? Even Mike Pereira, who is the official referee for, who is like former referee and one of the lead guys for Fox when it comes to the game, he said that, look, the reason why we're not calling it a dirty hit was because of the fact that it was considered a football move. Sometimes when you hit somebody in just pure combat, there was nothing extra after it, so you couldn't punish them, even though and I even told a couple of my buddies, I'm like, guys, I think Jarvis Landry is going to get a letter from the league saying he's going to be losing some money because of this. And lo and behold, he did. He lost $27,500 for that. So, I mean, yeah, the NFL was not happy with Jarvis Landry and that hit. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. But let me tell you, New England just keeps going the way that they need to do. Big win over the Pittsburgh Steelers, even though Pittsburgh was shorthanded. I think we all can agree with that. And a lot of people is like, well, now here's our revenge game. Now we can go after Buffalo. We can continue and we can dominate. We got Brady back. Gronk's looking great. Edelman's looking great. It looks like we have our whole team back. Yes, I can agree with that for the most part, and I do have the Patriots winning. However, you want my Phil Simms? Here's my Phil Simms. Buffalo is really good on the ground. They're really good, and they are going to establish the running game. And remember, what was the one thing that New England could not stop in that first battle? They couldn't stop the run. They couldn't stop the run because in that game, as if I remember correctly, just give me one moment. Let me get into, because there was some lighter notes here. In this game, Buffalo basically they threw 39 times, got 246 yards passing, but they ran as a team for 134 yards on 32 attempts. If you're Buffalo, you go back and you bring that same formula that you did against New England in Foxborough, you're going to win this game. And on top of that, you think Rex Ryan is not salivating over the fact that he gets an opportunity at Tom Brady and that New England team? Now, I know a lot of people are like, well, they probably changed up their strategy. They'll be better off this time around than they were in the last game. Granted, yes, but what was the one thing that Buffalo did that made New England stymie? And what it was they brought pressure, the pressure defense, because they could sit back, take it and lay back, play you on a natural zone. But Brady is so good that he'll pick Buffalo apart on just zone reads. So you got to try to mix it up. Do a linebacker blitz, have the front four rush, maybe a corner blitz a couple of times during the game where basically you give them a formation, because Buffalo uses a 3-4 formation, and a lot of the times you'll see a lot of stunts, you'll see a lot of men who brings to the sides, so what you might want to do is maybe on one play have a corner come from the outside, pressure Brady, because that's what you need to do. You need Brady to not stay in the pocket. The minute he stays in the pocket, he's going to shred you. So you got to get him outside of those tackle boxes. Put the feet to the fire. If you do that, you might get an upset on Sunday. And for the first time since 2000, New England could lose to an AFC divisional opponent and get swept in the season series for the first time in 2000. No, since 2000, Florio. According to what I have here, it says it actually says, because I got it on the score, and they have a lighter note here, is that the Patriots have not lost both regular season games against an AFC Eastern Divisional opponent since the year 2000. So you're saying 1999?
That was tough.
Huh?
Yeah, because 99, that was the last time they got swept by Buffalo. Overall, it was 2000. I think.
Yeah.
I think it was
Overall,
Miami or the Jets. Or was it the Colts?
I believe. Well, we're gonna have to. You know what?
Dolphins. I think it was
Let
Miami.
me give me a few minutes. I'll go back because unfortunately Miami's on bye this week, so we can't talk about them. But I'll go back. I'll take a look. I'll try to do some research real quick. Just give me a few minutes on that. But I got New England winning this game. So with that said, Michael Bullock, I give it to you, and I'll try to find that liner note for you in a second. Right?
Too late. Too late. I already found it. It was the Dolphins. Dolphins swept New England in the year 2000. Go ahead, Bullet.
All right. Yeah, when it comes to the injury report for, of course, starting off with the Patriots, tight end Martellus Bennett with an ankle injury, wide receiver Julian Edelman with a foot injury. They're listed as questionable. As far as the Buffalo Bills are concerned, wide receiver Marquise Goodwin with a concussion, and safety Aaron Williams with a neck injury. They're listed as out. And LaShawn McCoy, with a hamstring injury, he's listed as doubtful. Meanwhile, tight end Charles Clay with a knee injury. Defensive tackle Marcel Darius with a hamstring injury. He also is listed as questionable. So, and Robert Woods with a foot injury is listed as questionable as well. So, yeah, for the Patriots, and they need to establish the running game against this Bills defense, and this is where Rob Gronkowski and Martellus Bennett will certainly help them out, because they are good run blocking tight ends, and if they can create holes, LeGarrette Blount's going to take advantage of that opportunity, and Tom Brady, he's going to spread the ball, get it to his guys like Gronk, like Edelman, like Martellus Bennett, and the defense, I think, is the key here, because you're facing a mobile quarterback in Tyrod Taylor, and because Taylor's going to be using his legs sometimes in this game, and I think the thing is you want to force Tyrod Taylor into some bad throws, so that's the thing they got to do here. So New England's going to win this one, but I think it's going to be a close one. My final score is New England 34, Buffalo 27. So, Florio, I give it to you.
Just to clear up that liner note, in case anybody was wondering, the last time the Patriots were swept in the same season by an AFC East division opponent, the year 2000, it was the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins beat New England 10-3 in Miami, and then 27-24 in Foxborough in a wild game. I remember very well. As I recall, MF, I think you and I think we had that game, if I recall correctly. That was the game when the players had left because they thought the game was over, and then they actually came back like several minutes later because of a questionable final play, and they played that final play out, and Miami still held on to win. So, yeah, one of the craziest games we ever saw in all the years we've been, following, covering, watching NFL football. But anywho, getting back to this. All right, let me get to my liner notes here. The matchup quality of 89 is the highest of any game this season. The New England Patriots and the Buffalo Bills are in the top 5 in FPI, and they are 2 of the 3 teams, along with the Green Bay Packers, that have a positive FPI on offense, defense, and special teams. I can't I can't wrap myself around what happened the last time these two played, as the Bills thoroughly outclassed the Patriots in Foxborough almost a month ago as they launched a 4-game winning streak that concluded this past week down in Miami. The Bills are better than I thought they would be, but even then, I don't see them taking out the Pats with a healthy Tom Brady at home. Needless to say, as much as I want Buffalo to win, and believe you me, I want it more than anything, I have to go with the New England Patriots as well. This is an uphill battle. I mean, winning the first time was one thing, but if they somehow find a way to win this game, holy guacamole, this would be an even bigger upset than the game in Foxborough. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, the upset of the year so far was a couple weeks ago when Fletcher's Dolphins upset the Pittsburgh Steelers at Hard Rock Stadium and in the process took out Ben Roethlisberger. But if the Buffalo Bills beat the New England Patriots at home with a healthy Tom Brady, who's on his biggest revenge tour yet, wow, that would be monumental. That would be even bigger than the Dolphins beating the Steelers 2 weeks ago. I'm just saying, considering how New England has owned Buffalo over the last decade and a half. And believe me, I've endured so much of it. And I've had enough. I want Buffalo to win, believe me, I do. But I have to think, I got to be realistic. Brady is going to go off. That's all there is to it. Tom Brady's going to have a humongous game like he's been having this year. Let's also consider LeGarrette Blount. I think Blount's going to have a big game as well. Rob Gronkowski, Julian Edelman, Amendola. If he's able to go, Martellus Bennett, and I think the defense will make a play or two. And don't get me wrong, I think Tyrod Taylor's still going to have a solid game. I think Shady McCoy's going to have another solid game. The receiving core of Robert Woods and Marquise Goodwin and Salas, but Tom Brady is the ultimate X factor. The only reason why they won that game was because there was no Tom Brady. If Brady had played in that game, New England the outcome would have been the other way around, hands down. But back down to earth for Buffalo, unfortunately. Patriots win. My final score, 31-21. The New England Patriots over the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. As much as it pains me to do it, I have no choice. Game of the week, though, should be a great one, though. All right. Well, we got to go back down to earth here now. This game was originally scheduled to be America's Game of the Week at 4:25 on Fox, but the flex scheduling moved this game up to 1 o'clock. The rematch of last season's NFC Championship game, the Arizona Cardinals going up against the Carolina Panthers, Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's where we're going to have this game. And calling the game for Fox, it's going to be Sam Rosen with Daryl Moose Johnston and Laura Oakman. They will be in Carolina for the Cardinals and the Panthers. Spread favors the Carolina Panthers by 3. It's a 3-point spread for Carolina. Go back to the series history. Series history favors, I believe it's the Carolina Panthers. Yes, it is. Carolina leads the regular season series 8-4. Last regular season meeting between these two was in 2013. That game was in Arizona. The Cardinals won it 22-6. Cardinals have won the last 2 regular season meetings. Last meeting in Carolina was in 2010. The Carolina Panthers won that one 19-12. I don't know if the Cardinals have won a regular season game in Carolina. Actually, they have. Actually in back-to-back years, 2001 and 2002. But 2002 was the last time, 16-13. So, yeah. And the game rater, you would have thought at the start of the season this probably would have been the game of the week. But, oh, no. But this game actually still ranked pretty high despite the lackluster records. This game actually came in at number 4. This is the number 4 game of the week. How this made the top 5 is beyond me, considering the lackluster records. So with all that being said, I believe Michael Bullock starts this one off. So, Michael Bullock, this NFC Championship rematch, when the schedule came out, we were looking forward to this game. Not so much now.
Boy, what a difference it makes. I mean, before the season started, you would say, like you said, it's the game of the week, but after this, not a good start for both teams, especially Carolina. I mean, it's definitely not the game of the week now. So, yeah, as far as the injury report for both teams, starting with the Arizona Cardinals, tight end Darren Fells with an ankle injury, he's out. Wide receiver John Brown with a hamstring injury. Wide receiver Michael Floyd with a hamstring injury. They're listed as questionable. And for the Carolina Panthers, defensive end Coney Ely with an illness. Defensive tackle Paul Soliai with a foot injury. And cornerback Robert McLean with a hamstring injury. They're listed as questionable. So, yeah, this is the rematch of the NFC Championship game, and you know the Arizona Cardinals are going to want revenge on the Carolina Panthers because, I mean, at the time, I mean, they had a really good offense, and you were thinking that it was going to be enough for them to get to the Super Bowl, but no, Carolina, led by Cam Newton and the rest of that offense, and of course the defense for both. I mean, on the Carolina side, they just basically put a holiday hamming on the Arizona Cardinals, and I think the thing here for Arizona, I mean, they have to attack this defense that was good before. I mean, you have to establish the running game with David Johnson. Carson Palmer needs to make some big throws down the field, especially with Larry Fitzgerald. And the question, of course, is for, I mean, Cam Newton. I mean, will he continue to be making those option plays? Because remember, he's coming off of a concussion, so it's going to be interesting to see if he'll still be able to make those plays with his legs. So we'll wait and see what happens. But I got Arizona winning this one. My final score is going to be I'm going to go 38. I'm going to go 38 to 27. I mean, 30. Well, actually, 38-24 is going to be my final score here. Palmer's going to have a solid game. Same thing with Fitzgerald and David Johnson. So, yeah. So, give me the Arizona Cardinals to finally get some payback and an update from Game 3 of the World Series. It's still a 1-0 Cleveland Indians lead as we now head to the 9th inning. So can the Indians tack on another run or two to seal it, or will the Cubs bullpen shut them down and give themselves a chance to either tie or win it in the bottom of the ninth? So this is going to be one pretty good finish to game number 3, if I'm going to be quite honest. So I'll keep you posted on it. So Florio, I give it to you.
Yes, indeed. You beat me to the punch there, Bullock, on that. But the Arizona Cardinals have a 41% chance to make the playoffs, and the Carolina Panthers have only a 9% chance, according to FPI. The last time both of a previous season's conference championship game participants missed the playoffs was in 2007. Seriously, that Cardinals-Seahawks tie was a disgrace. Just a dreadful night of football. I went into that game having little faith in the Cardinals, and it is safe to say that did not change after Sunday night. Meanwhile, the Panthers have lost 4 in a row, and thus I think it is safe to say that their season is over. Therefore, not a fun pick. It is an early game, so I'm inclined to go with Carolina here. So I'm actually going with the Carolina Panthers to win this game. I respectfully disagree with you, Bullock. I got Carolina winning 20-16. Cam Newton, I think, is going to have a bounce-back game. Fozzie Whitaker, I think he's going to have a nice game running. The receiving core, they need to wake up. You know, Kelvin Benjamin. along with Ted Ginn and Greg Olson. I think the defense will make just enough plays to get the win here. Although I think Palmer will have a fine game, like you said. David Johnson, we'll see. And but after that piss poor performance by Arizona on the Sunday night, I mean, I cannot in good conscience go with them. I mean, they haven't fared well in Carolina over the last several years, including the last 2 years in the playoffs, especially that NFC Championship game. So I have to go with the Carolina Panthers here. So it's not an easy pick. It's not a fun pick, but because it's the early game, you know, the history of West Coast teams coming over to an early start. So I have to go with that. So I got Carolina winning it 20-16. So MF, the age-old question, who do you agree with? Do you agree with me in Carolina, or do you agree with Bullock and Arizona in our number 4 game of the week, this not so anticipated NFC Championship rematch?
Not so anticipated, but I think Carolina, you know, just because of the fact that they're at home, and I just think that they got better weapons. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt, and I do believe that they're going to get the job done and win this game. So I'm going to be very brief about it, but give me Carolina to win. So let's just move on to the next game.
All right, fair enough. Let's see. Well, we go from an exciting from the most exciting game of the week to, well, the zonk game of the week. Oh, we have to get into it, guys. I'm sorry. I know you probably don't want to get into it. I know we certainly don't, but you know, but we got to get into it anyway. Bear with me. The New York Jets and the Cleveland Browns. Oh boy, is that going to put some butts in the seats. First, I believe they call it First Energy Stadium in Cleveland, Ohio, or something like that. The Dog Pound in Cleveland. New York Jets against the Cleveland Browns. This game's on CBS. Calling the game for CBS, it's going to be Kevin Harlan and Rich Gannon. Oh, I feel bad for you guys. You guys deserve better than that, if I'm going to be real honest. Spread favors the New York Jets 2.5 to 3 points. Series history favors the Cleveland Browns 12-10, although the New York Jets have won the last 3 consecutive meetings, but then again, they've all been in New York. Matter of fact, each of the last 4 meetings have been in New York. We haven't had a game in Cleveland with these two since 2006, and the Cleveland Browns won that game by a score of 20-13. Jets' last win in Cleveland was 2004. That was 10-7, and their last meeting was a year ago. It was in New York, and the Jets pounded the Browns 31-10. So that's the schematic on that. And the game rater, like I said, it's the zonk game of the week. And I think, unfortunately, I have the unenviable task of having to start off on this one. Great. All right. This one might not be too memorable, as the New York Jets and the Cleveland Browns are a combined 2-12. This game marks the first time this season that a matchup quality has been below 10. Oh, yeah, that's how bad this one is, guys. The Jets got a much-needed win on Sunday, but it got overshadowed by Geno Smith's injury and Ryan Fitzpatrick acting like a petulant child after the game. Fitzpatrick has had an inflated sense of his game since the offseason, and I guess fails to realize that in this league, when you play terribly, you get benched. All that aside, the Jets finally ran the ball, and the defense actually looked good. This should be a game that they win against a miserable Cleveland team, but it also feels like the classic Jets lost because of that. Cleveland has been in a lot of games this season, and that's because they've consistently played hard. Some say it could actually pay off on Sunday. Me, I don't. I'm not going to make the same mistake I made in that Oakland-Jacksonville game. What the hell was I thinking last week? My gosh. But I'm not making the same mistake this time around. I got the Jets in this one, and I'm going very low scoring here. Jets win it. My final score is 13-10. I think Fitzpatrick will do enough. Forte will do enough. Marshall and Decker should do enough. The defense might make I think the defense will make a big enough play towards the end to win it. I know McCown's going to be starting for Cleveland, so there is a small sense of hope for the Brownies, but let's be realistic. I have no faith in Cleveland whatsoever. But then again, I don't have much faith in the Jets either. But after that big win they scored against the Ravens last week, I got to go with the Jets here. So Give me the Jets. My final score, 13-10, like I said. So, MF, your thoughts on the Zonk game of the week with the Jets and the Browns?
Yeah, this is not a really good matchup at all. The thing is that there's so many injuries on the Jets side that it just doesn't seem like this is going to be an entertaining game. Matt Forte should do fine. I don't think he's gonna light it up. Ryan Fitzpatrick is the guy because of the fact that Geno Smith suffered an injury, but I don't think it'll do much of a favor. If there's one game where the Browns could pull off the upset, this could be it. This could be the game. But honestly, I don't think so. I think the Jets are going to win. This is the Zonk game of the week, indeed. 10-7 is my final score. Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Yeah. Well, first, of course, I got to give you the injury report when it comes to both sides, of course. Well, I'm trying to pull it up here, so you just so center Nick Mangold with an ankle injury he's listed as doubtfuls. Tackle Ryan Clady with a shoulder injury, and defensive end Muhammad Wilkerson with an ankle injury. They're listed as questionable. For the Cleveland Browns, quarterback Cody Kessler with a concussion, wide receiver Corey Coleman with a hand injury. They're both listed as out, and cornerback Joe Hayden with a groin injury is listed as questionable. So, yeah, I'm not going to waste my time on this. I'm just going to say my final score is going to be, 13-10. It's going to be my final score as well. So, yep, and now we head to the bottom of the ninth inning in Game 3 of the World Series with Cody Allen going out for the Cleveland Indians, and due up for the Cubs is Anthony Rizzo, Ben Zobrist, and Contreras in the bottom of the ninth. So should be, like I said before, an exciting finish. And well, there's really, can the Cubs tie it or win it? We'll wait and see. So Florio, I give it to you.
I'm going to have to answer that question with an emphatic no, Bullock. I think the Indians are going to hold on. That's just how I feel. I mean, that pitching has been spot on all night. So I got to be real honest.
Well, we can't quite say that yet, because
of course
we've seen some crazy things happen before in the not just in the playoffs, but in the World Series. So
of course.
Just because Cody Allen's out there doesn't mean it's a certain lock. I mean, I'm sorry I have to bring this back up for you, Florio, but when Mariano Rivera was out there for Game 4 of the ALCS in 2004, everybody was saying, "Oh, game's over. Yankees are going to sweep the Red Sox." And what happened? They came back to tie the game, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Yes, the rest they say is history. Yes,
and not only that, but the way that you're looking at, they start with Anthony Rizzo, then behind that, let's see,
Ben Zobrist.
It goes Rizzo, Zobrist, and Contreras. So I mean, you're getting some power hitters, and Wrigley Field. I mean, it's not a pitcher's park. I mean, if you put a fastball down that way, man, and if one of these guys gets a hold of it, I mean, who knows? I mean, it could get interesting. I know the rally caps are on, and I know there's a lot of prayers going around, a lot of prayers going around, especially in Chicago. But let me say, it is definitely not over. It's not over by a long shot.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye out for it. But right now, while we're waiting, let's get into our next game on our docket here. We got the Detroit Lions going up against the Houston Texans, NRG Stadium, Reliant Stadium in Houston, Texas. This game's on Fox, and calling the game for Fox, Chris Myers, Rondé Barber, Jennifer Hale. And the spread favors the Houston Texans by 2 to 2.5. I don't understand why. And the series history actually favors the Houston Texans 2-1. Last meeting was 2012 in Detroit. Texans won that one 34-31 in overtime. I'll never forget it. It was a Thanksgiving game, and who will ever forget that? I mean, that goes. I consider that one of the great Thanksgiving games I've ever seen. I mean, I remember that one very well. Houston winning 34-31 in overtime in 2012. They've only met in Houston once. That was back in 2008, and the Houston Texans won that game by a score of 28-21. I think that was the year the Detroit Lions went winless, I believe. I think that's the year they went 0-16. So, and the game rater rated this game at number 11. Number 11. It rounds out the top 3 Zonk games of the week, believe it or not. So, I believe MF starts it off. So, MF, Detroit Lions, Houston Texans, both teams 4-3. Your thoughts on our number 11 game of the week?
Yeah, it's not the most glamorous matchup in recent years, but it'll be a good one to say the very least. The one thing that I don't like about Houston, and I'm gonna say it, is their quarterback. I'm not fully believable about Brock Osweiler. I think he has been, some moments he's great, other moments not so much. Just depends on the situation and the way that it goes. I'm sorry, I'm just not fully committed into them. I think they got a good running game with Lamar Miller. I think they'll do very well with that. They got some good receivers with DeAndre Hopkins, and they'll do well. And with Detroit, I mean, you're getting back some weapons that you had recently in the past. So I mean, there's really nothing bad to say. Plus, with Matthew Stafford, he's going to have a really good complementary of players. The defense is not as great as it's been in recent years. With the J.J. Watt injury, they kind of been struggling this year. So if you want an upset, this could be the one. But because it's a hometown game, I'm sorry, I can't do it. I got to go with Houston. I don't think it's going to be that high scoring either. 17-14 is my final score. The Texans winning. Mike Bullock, I give it to you.
All right. The injury report. Linebacker DeAndre Levy with a knee injury is out. Eric Ebron, the tight end, with an ankle injury. Haloti Ngata with a shoulder injury. They're listed as questionable. And as far as the Houston Texans go, linebacker Jadeveon Clowney with an elbow injury, safety Quentin Demps with a calf injury, and running back Lamar Miller with a shoulder injury. They're listed as questionable. So yeah, I mean, like you said, Detroit's getting some of their weapons back, but the thing is with the Texans, I mean Brock Osweiler, I mean yeah, he's had some good moments here and there, but he really hasn't turned into be that franchise quarterback that the Texans signed to that big deal. So, and I like what I've seen from Matthew Stafford on the Lions side. So, to be quite honest with you, I'm actually going to slightly disagree, and I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions to win this one. My final score, I'm going to say 17-14. Detroit will win it. Florio, I give it to you.
Yes. Let me see. The Detroit Lions and Houston Texans are each 4-3, despite the Lions having an even point differential on the season and the Texans having a -37 differential. The Detroit Lions are pushing themselves right into the mix of the NFC playoff picture, as they have now won 3 in a row, their latest coming after that wild finish against Washington at home. They get to visit a Houston club that can't seem to get anything going offensively, with Brock Osweiler under center and a defense that seems a little punchless without J.J. Watt. I think the Lions will continue to keep their winning streak going. Michael Bullock, I agree with you. I got to respectfully disagree with Michael Fletcher. I don't know what he's thinking, but I got the Detroit Lions winning this game. I can understand where he's coming from. Games in Houston, I get it, but this Lion team is playing very good right now. Osweiler's been terrible, so until I see otherwise, I cannot, in good conscience, go with the Houston Texans. So I'm going with the Detroit Lions to make it 4 in a row. My final score, 28-21. Matthew Stafford, big game from him, no doubt about that. Let's give you Theo Riddick and along with the receiving core of Golden Tate and Marvin Jones. I mean, I'm loving Marvin Jones' body of work. I really am. I mean, he has been playing lights out. I mean, especially that game in Green Bay and that losing effort. I mean, just amazing. And the body of work has been – I have been very impressed with this Lion team. I mean, I know nobody had any expectations for the Lions whatsoever. I mean, certainly understandable, but you know, it is what it is. So that's really all I can say on that. So I got the Detroit Lions winning. My final score, 28-21. So that's really all I can say on that. So with that being said, let's move on to our next game. And here's a good matchup. The Kansas City Chiefs going up against the Indianapolis Colts. This game will be at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis, Indiana. This game's on CBS, and calling the game for CBS, it'll be Spiro Dedes and Solomon Wilcots. They will be in Indy for the Chiefs and the Colts. And the spread favors the Kansas City Chiefs by a spread of 2.5 to 3. The series history favors the Indianapolis Colts 12-8. Last meeting was in 2013. That game was in Kansas City. Colts won that one 23-7. They've won the last 2 regular season meetings, but then again, they were both in Kansas City. Last time they met overall was that unforgettable and maybe the greatest wild card playoff game in history when the Colts came back from 24 down to beat the Chiefs 45-44. A game that Michael Fletcher and I will never forget. We went on the record and called it the greatest wild card game of all time. And 2011 was the last time they met in Indianapolis. Chiefs won that one 28-24. And the Colts' last home win against the Chiefs in the regular season, 2010. That was a 19-9 final. And the game rater rated this game at number 7. Number 7 is where this game came in. I do believe Michael Bullock. I do believe Michael Bullock leads it off, and we got some wild developments in that bottom of the 9th inning. The Cubs have runners at the corners with 2 outs as Hayward just reached on an error. So we got some Shakespearean drama at Wrigley. So Bullock, I believe you lead off on this on our next game here with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Indianapolis Colts. So Bullock, let's get your thoughts on the Chiefs and the Colts, our number 7 game of the week.
All right, and yeah, well, first off, like you said, it's definitely some excitement in the bottom of the 9th. The first and third, 2 outs. Can't. Well, I'll definitely let you know what happens as I review this game with the Chiefs and Colts. To the injury report, Jamal Charles is out with a knee injury. That's the only big name for the Chiefs. And as far as for the Colts, tight end Dwayne Allen with an ankle injury, defensive end Kendall Langford with a knee injury, and Jack Muir, the guard, with a tricep injury. They're out, and wide receiver Dante Moncrief with a shoulder injury is listed as questionable. So, yeah, and like you said, well, of course, let me see. Give me just a moment here. I mean, yeah, of course, that's huge when it comes to the Chiefs. I mean, no Jamal Charles. I mean, that's a huge blow to the to the offensive attack for the Chiefs. But of course, the Chiefs did win their game over New Orleans last week, so it was a nice game, and the Colts with a big win. So both teams coming off big wins here, but I'll tell you what, even without Jamal Charles, but I mean, you still got Alex Smith who can make some plays with his arm and with his legs as well. So, and I just like the body of work of Kansas City just a bit better than Indianapolis is. So I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs to win this one. My final score is going to be 27-20. I think Alex Smith's going to have a solid game here, and yeah, so there's really nothing more to say here. So I got to go with the Kansas City Chiefs to win this one. And yeah, there's really nothing more for me to say. So Florio, I give it to you. And man, this is really getting exciting here when it comes to this. Runners in scoring position.
Second and
2
third.
outs now. Huh?
Yes. Second and third, 2 out, a 2-2 count on Javier Baez.
Yeah, all Javier and the reigning NLCS MVP.
Yes, and co-MVP. Don't forget
Co-MVP. Yeah.
Him and your old buddy, Mr. Lester there. So
yeah, and all it takes is a base
Oh,
and that's it. The
Ball
game is over.
I told you.
Cleveland Indians
I told you.
take
I told
game
you.
number 3 and
I
take a
told
2
you.
games to 1 lead in the best of 7 World Series.
I told you so.
He went high heat, 93 on the gun. Try to catch this, and Baez
Yep.
couldn't do it.
Yeah, definitely. He went with the high cheese, and Javier Baez took it, and there you go. Cleveland takes a 2 games to 1 lead in the best of 7 series with Game 4 set for tomorrow night. So
Well, so much for the hopes of the Cubs winning the World Series in Chicago. Now it doesn't matter. They just need to win one, and no matter what, you're guaranteed to win the World Series. You're going to be guaranteed at least a return back to Cleveland. But now Cleveland, they're 2 wins away from winning the whole thing. So could they possibly win the World Series in Chicago?
This is a must, and tomorrow night's a must-win game for the Cubs here, because
Without a doubt.
you don't want to go down 3 games to 1.
You certainly don't. And I got to be just 2 quick things here before I give you my thoughts on Chiefs and Colts. Let me just say it like this. 2 quick things when it comes to World Series. First of all, I think the 2-3-2 has got to go. I don't like the 2-3-2. I think it should be 2-2-1-1-1. That's how I strongly feel about it. And number 2, I know they wanted to do the whole winner, whichever league won the All-Star game gets the World Series. That's a joke. That's got to go. The Cubs should have had the home field advantage in this World Series as it is, because they had the far and away better record than Cleveland did. So I'm just being real honest with you. I'm being the man who tells it like it is right here and now. So
Well, that's up to the commissioner, but
yeah, they're not going to budge. Of course, they're not going to.
But the thing is that for one thing, okay, I agree with you about the fact about the World Series that the home team should get, the best record should get home field. So I'm with you on that.
Amen.
But
You like the 2-3-2.
But the 2-3-2's been in baseball for a very long time. I mean, I don't remember a time.
I think it started in 85.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm sorry. This isn't the NBA. 2-3-2, I think it's become a staple now, and I'd rather not be switched. I was really upset with the NBA that they got rid of the 2-3-2. So I'm sorry. If there's one thing that I get it about the 2-2-1-1-1, but I think that's the most I rather it be 2-3-2. I'm sorry. As a guy who started following baseball, that's the way it's been. That's the way it should be.
Very true.
Just like with the NBA. I was so upset when I heard that they got rid of the 2-3-2 format, because that was what I used to see. That was the style that I grew up with. Why mess with it?
Yeah, I don't like it either. I don't like it either. And for tonight's game, if I had to give my 3 stars for the game, my number 3 star, I would have to go with Josh Tomlin because I mean, even though he didn't go 5 innings, he did shut down what is a good Chicago Cubs lineup.
Right.
And my number 2 star, I had to go with the reliever Andrew Miller because he does it again. I mean, he does it again. I mean, whenever Terry Francona calls him in from that bullpen, he gets that team some big outs. He's my number 2 star. My number 1 star, I had to go with the former Red Sox player Coco Crisp because
He drove in the winning run.
it was his RBI
The seventh.
that drove in the lone run of the game for the Cleveland Indians. So yeah, so my 3rd star would be Josh Tomlin. My 2nd star would be Andrew Miller, and the number 1 star is Coco Crisp.
All right, fair enough. Let's we'll have plenty of time to discuss that. You know, we got some other things that we have to do this weekend, and World Series will be part of it. So you know, we'll get more into Game 4 tomorrow night when Bullock and I do our Hell in a Cell preview show around this time tomorrow night. So so that's pretty much it. So let's get back to football now and nothing but. We left off on my thoughts on the Chiefs and the Colts. The Kansas City Chiefs are looking to avenge their loss to the Indianapolis Colts in the 2013 wild card round. After blowing a 28-point second-half lead, the Chiefs' playoff chances would increase from 54% to 68% with a win. As we saw on Sunday in Nashville, when Andrew Luck is on, he can carry his crappy supporting cast to victory. Even as they return to the friendly confines of Lucas Oil Stadium, I'm not so certain that Luck will be able to have the same kind of success against the Chiefs, who feature one of the better pass defenses in the league. Look for the Chiefs to also control the clock in order to keep Luck at bay. So I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs as well, Bullock. I agree with you. I believe you said you had KC. I got KC winning as well. My final score is just a smidgen higher than yours. It's right around the ballpark. My final score, Kansas City wins 27-24. That's going to be my final score. 27-24, Kansas City wins. Alex Smith, big game. Jamal Charles, I think he's going to have a solid game. Travis Kelce, Spencer Ware, maybe some Macklin, and I think the defense will get to Luck and fluster him a bit. They'll get to Gore, and I think they'll contain Hilton, even though I think they'll have solid games as well. But I got Kansas City winning. In this one, my final score, like I said, 27-24, Kansas City over Indianapolis. So, Michael Fletcher, Chiefs and Colts meeting in Indianapolis and meeting overall for the first time since what we called the greatest wild card game we ever saw.
Yeah, no doubt about it. This is going to be a great battle, no doubt, to say the very least. At the end of the day, it's kind of the focus. What do you do? How does it play out? What's I guess the grand scheme of things is the best way to say it. But I will say this, this is going to be a great battle, no doubt about that. The excitement level is going to be very high. To me, it's all about one battle and one battle only. Just try to play with the heart, the confidence, and everything else. I'm with you guys. I'm going to go with Kansas City as well. I think the injury will come to play a little bit, but not enough. I just think Kansas City just has a better team. The one negative I've had all season long has been the offensive line of Indianapolis, how they can't really protect Andrew Luck at all. It is great to see that Dante Moncrief could play, and actually, as a matter of fact, Mike Bullock, I'm even gonna go one further. According to a couple of the coaches for the Indianapolis Colts, Moncrief will play on Sunday, so he will be available. How's that going to play out in the grand scheme of things? We'll wait and see. But for me, I'm gonna go with Kansas City. I think they're gonna get the job done. So, Anthony, it's yours.
All right. Let's. I believe we have only 2 1:00 games left on our 1:00 docket, and they're both halfway decent matchups on both sides. So let's start it off with. Let's go into our next matchup here. This should be a good one. The Seattle Seahawks going up against the New Orleans Saints. The Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. That's where this game is going to be going down. And this game is going to be on Fox. And calling the game for Fox, it's going to be Justin Kutcher with Charles Davis, Chris Spielman, and Holly Saunders on the sideline. You know, Holly Saunders from the Golf Channel, for those of you who follow that channel. They'll be there in New Orleans. And the spread favors the Seattle Seahawks. I have one spread favoring them by 1, 2 spreads favoring them by 2.5, and another spread favoring them by 3. So it's a 1 to 3 point spread for Seattle in New Orleans. Series history, we're even, guys. 6-all. It's a 6-6 regular season series. Last meeting was 2013 in Seattle. Seahawks pounded the Saints 34-7. Last overall meeting was in that same year. They met in the divisional round in Seattle, and the Seahawks won that one 23-15, also in Seattle. Last meeting in New Orleans was 2010. Saints won that one by a score of 34-19, and that led into that unforgettable wild card game with the Seahawks and the Saints, which is my second greatest wild card game, only behind KC and Indy. And last time the Seahawks won in the Superdome was 2004. That was a 21-7 win back in 2004. And the Game Rater, ESPN Game Rater, they rated this game at number 5. This game cracked the top 5, and rightfully so. Number 5 game of the week, I believe it's I who starts this one off, and much better game than the last time I led off. FPI favors the New Orleans Saints by 0.2 of a point. The closest matchup of the week. Defense may be the Seattle Seahawks' strength, but that is certainly not the case for the Saints. The Seahawks allow 14 points a game, tied for the fewest in the NFL, and the Saints allow the most, 32.5. Yeesh. Seriously, that Cardinals-Seahawks tie was a disgrace. Just a dreadful night of football. This game, however, feels like a good opportunity for an upset. It is an early start for the Seahawks, one in which they traditionally don't perform all that well in. However, the Saints are not good enough defensively at home to push the action against this. Well, the Saints are good enough offensively at home to push the action against this Seattle defense. But the thing is, the Saints are not good defensively. So I got to give the slight edge to Seattle here. I think Seattle will win. I think Russell Wilson's going to have a big game. Kristen Michael, the running game. Jimmy Graham returns to New Orleans, so there's some Shakespearean drama there. Jimmy Graham's first game back at the Superdome in a visiting uniform. We'll see how the Saint fans treat him. And then Baldwin and Curse, we can't forget about that. And of course, the Legion of Boom. Seattle had that tie against Arizona, but before that, they were playing really well, and they were starting to look like that team that has been, one of the dominant teams, a main event mafia team in the NFC. Plus, the consensus has Seattle. A very high consensus is going with Seattle, so I'm with the consensus here. I got the Seattle Seahawks in this one. My final score, 28-24, Seattle over New Orleans in the Dome. So, MF, let's bring you on in. Seattle, New Orleans, cracking the top 5. It's the number 5 game of the week. Classic case of great defense against a great offense in a great venue in the Superdome, one of our favorite venues of all time. So your thoughts on our number 5 game of the week?
You're also forgetting one other thing. Jimmy Graham is home. This is the first time Jimmy. I didn't hear it. I didn't hear that. Nope.
You can hear me?
Nope. So I'm just saying. To me, in this game, look, this is easy for me to say, oh, I ride with New Orleans because, in the past, I've rid with New Orleans in these type of games. Because I've always New Orleans, they're virtually unbeatable at home. They play a lot more better at home and this and that. But I hate to say this, they haven't produced at all. Last couple of games at home, and I'm not gonna be suckered in a third time. So I'm sorry, I'm going with Seattle in this game. I think Russell Wilson will do just fine. They don't really have much of a running game, but you don't really need that. Passing game, I think you're going to see a lot better performance, no doubt about that. But at the end of the day, it's just how is Drew Brees going to handle with the Legion of Boom? Even though Seattle is probably a better, they're not as great defensively as they were in recent years. Who knows how that's going to play out? But I'm with you guys. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that Seattle wins it. High scoring affair, absolutely. 31-28 is my final score. Mike Bullock, I give it to you.
All right. All right. When it comes to the injury report for both sides, starting with Seattle, of course, some key injuries on the defensive side. I mean, defensive end Mike Bennett with a knee injury, safety Cam Chancellor with a groin injury, and of course a couple offensive guys, running back Thomas Rawls with a fibula injury, and tight end Luke Wilson with a knee injury. They're listed as out. So some key guys on both sides for Seattle won't be playing this week. And wide receiver Tyler Lockett with a thigh injury is listed as questionable. As far as the New Orleans Saints goes, former Patriot Sterling Moore with an ab injury is listed as out. Donnell Ellerbe with a quadricep injury is listed as questionable. So, yeah, I mean, the big story, like you said, Jimmy Graham returned home to the Dome where he got his career going. And yeah, I mean, the last two games that New Orleans has played in the Dome have not gone to New Orleans' liking. So I don't think that's going to change whatsoever. So I got Seattle winning this one. I'm going to say 28-24 is going to be my final score. So with that being said, Florio, let's move on.
Okay, and we move on to, I believe, our final 1 o'clock game of the week. And what a matchup this should be. This is a sleeper game if I ever saw one. A rematch of Super Bowl 37 rather, Super Bowl 37. How about this? The Oakland Raiders going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Raymond James Stadium, Tampa, Florida, which will be fresh off of South Florida's humongous upset of Navy tonight, which will definitely cause a little shakeup in the AP poll, no doubt. Just bear with me for a moment. Okay. Open up a new tab. Okay. This game is on CBS, and calling the game for CBS, it'll be Andrew Catalon with Steve Berline, Steve Tasker, and Chris Fisher. And the spread favors the Raiders. 3 spreads have the Raiders by 1. One other spread has it as a pick'em game. And the series history favors the Oakland Raiders by a count of 6-2. Last meeting was 2012. Tampa Bay won that one in Oakland by a score of 42-32. Last meeting in Tampa Bay was in 2008. The Raiders won that one by a score of 31-24. And the last time the Buccaneers won at home against the Raiders was in 1996. That was a 20-17 overtime win. And of course, when you think about these two teams, you cannot help but think about Super Bowl 37 when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers pounded the Oakland Raiders 48-21 at Qualcomm Stadium in San Diego. So, and the Game Rater rated this game as the number 10 game of the week. This game cracks the top 10. Raiders and Bucks came in at number 10. So, I believe Michael Fletcher, good old MF, starts off this one. So we can't help but think about the Raiders in the when we think Raiders Bucks, we cannot help but think Super Bowl 37 MF. We remember that one, and not one of our better Super Bowls, but Raiders and Bucks, two teams right in the midst of things, and it may be the number 10 game of the week on our Game Raider, but I'm gonna be real honest. This is my sleeper game of the week. I don't know about you.
It could be a sleeper game of the week, no doubt about it. Tampa's coming off two big wins in 2 weeks, sandwiched in with the bye. They did beat Carolina 17-14 on the road, and then just last week they defeated the 49ers by the final score of 34-17. So I mean, they're definitely proving that, hey, they're not going to be the same. They're not the same Tampa Bay Buccaneers that they were in recent years. And then, of course, the Raiders handled their business 33-16 over the Jacksonville Jaguars last week. And, I mean, you want to talk about great performances. It wasn't really the most glamorous performance by the Raiders. I mean, let's be realistic. David Carr, 200 yards, had a touchdown in the game. There wasn't really much in the way for him. Latavius Murray did very well. I mean, 59 yards, 2 touchdowns in the game as well. And then Michael Crabtree has really become the star of the team as far as the receiving core. I know a lot of people is talking about, oh, what about Amari Cooper? No, Michael Crabtree, man, 8 catches, 96 yards, had a touchdown in the game as well. And one other thing that I think we can also give a lot of credit to was the defense. I mean, the defense caused 2 turnovers, 2 INTs, held the held the Jaguars to 105 yards rushing the whole game, 344 yards total offense. I mean, it was a good performance. And then they were able to force force a fumble as well. So, I mean, it was a really good performance for them. And then, like we said, when we get to Tampa Bay, they just knew what they were doing against the 49ers. They just handled them pretty handily. I mean, they were able to Jameis Winston, 3 touchdowns, 1 INT, but it was Jacquez Rodgers, man. I mean, holy cow, what a game for him. 26 carries, a $154. Mike Evans, 8 catches, 96 yards, 2 touchdowns in the game as well. I mean, they racked up over 513 yards of total offense. They sacked the quarterback 2 times. They were able to sack. They were able to sack Colin Kaepernick 4 times in the game. They were making him to throw 1 INT in the game as well. They forced 2 fumbles in the game, or I should say, I think they forced 4 fumbles and was able to recover 2 of them. So, I mean, it was a great performance, no doubt about it. That's an all-time performance. But for me, this season, I gotta go with the Raiders. Don't get me wrong, I get it. Tampa is at home, but I'm not jumping off this bandwagon of the Raiders. They've proven to me that they've been really good this season. They're a big-time player. I don't know what it is about this team. There's something about the Raiders. I like them this year. I did make that bold prediction that I think they were going to win the division. They were going to win the AFC West, and I'm not straying away from that prediction one bit. Give me the Raiders to win this game. Modestly high scoring, 28-24 is my prediction. Mike Bullock, I give it to you.
When it comes to the injury report, there's really not many big names when it comes to the Raiders side. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Doug Martin's going to be out with a hamstring injury, and defensive end Robert Ayers with an ankle injury, and defensive tackle Gerald McCoy with a calf injury. They're listed as questionable. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with Michael Fletcher. I mean, I'm not giving up on the Raiders as well. I mean, still have some high hopes for this team because you've got Derek Carr, you've got Latavius Murray, you've got Khalil Mack on the defensive side of the ball, and yeah, Tampa Bay's rolled off 2 straight wins. So it's a must-win game for either one of these teams. But I gotta go with the Oakland Raiders to win this one. I just think they're a slightly better team. 24-20 is going to be my final score. So, Florio, I give it to you.
Okay. The Oakland Raiders ranked last in yards per game allowed and faced a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that topped 500 yards last week. The Buccaneers are FPI favorites for the second time this season. This feels like a good upset pick right here. After all, Oakland's dreadful defense, still ranked 32nd in the league, does not make experts feel particularly comfortable about them in any of their games. And while Jameis Winston has been inconsistent thus far in his sophomore season, he has shown that he can have a big game throwing the football. Also, Tampa Bay has one of the better defenses in the league, and especially so against the pass. However, you remember I was in the same position last week when Oakland went up against Jacksonville, and I made the stupid mistake of going with Jacksonville. I'm not going to be a stupid idiot this time around for a second week in a row. I'm going with the Raiders this time. The consensus is going with them after all anyway. A huge consensus is going with Oakland. So 21-20, that's actually going to be my final score. I got the Raiders winning it. Derek Carr, not to be confused with David Carr, MF. David Carr is an analyst on the NFL Network now. Derek Carr, that's who you're thinking of. Derek Carr is going to have a big game, I think. My man Latavius Murray, my number 1 running back on my fantasy team, he was what a godsend he was for me last week. He had a great game, 59 yards, yes, but he had 2 touchdowns. That's all that matters. That's points right there, man. I'll take those any day. And the receiving core with Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree, and it's going to come down to that, I think. So I'm going with the Raiders in this one. My final score is 21-20, Oakland over Tampa Bay. Should be a better game than what people think. I think it's going to be one of those great matchups of the week. So with that being said, that concludes our early slate. Now we move on to our late slate. We only have 2 late games this week, and they're both good ones. Oh boy, they're good ones. First one, 4:05 kickoff on CBS. We got the San Diego Chargers going up against the Denver Broncos. Sports Authority Field at Mile High in Denver. This game will be on CBS. Calling the game for CBS, the legendary Greg Gumbel with Trent Green and Jamie Erdahl. They will be in Denver for the Chargers and the Broncos. And the spread favors the Denver Broncos. 4 to 4.5 is the spread for the Broncos. Series history. They actually met on a Thursday night a couple of weeks ago, and the San Diego Chargers won that game. That game was in San Diego. But that cuts into Denver's series lead. It is now 62-50 with 1 tie. The 1 tie came in Denver in 1970. That was a 17-all tie. I didn't mention it. We didn't mention this game beforehand because it was a Thursday night game the last time these 2 teams met already. And this game is in Denver, and the Broncos have won the last 2 meetings in Denver. 3, if you count the divisional playoff game they had in January of 2014. The Chargers' last win in Denver was 2013 in the regular season. That was a 27-20 win in Denver. But the Broncos have won each meeting there since. 24-17 in that divisional game, of course. 2014, that was a 35-21 win. And then last year, a 27-20 win. I think that was the final game of the season, as I recall. And I think that was the turning point for the Denver Broncos as they began their Super Bowl run to Super Bowl 50, in which the Denver Broncos, of course, went on to win it all. So that's all there is to say on that. So Game Raider. The Game Raider rated this game at number 3. The number 3 game of the week. Cracked the top 3. I believe it is Michael Bullock who starts this one off. So, as I recall, because I think I wrapped up the last one. So Michael Bullock, let's go to you now. Chargers, Broncos, part 2. They met in San Diego. Chargers pulled off an upset. Do the Chargers do it to them again? Or do the Broncos get some revenge on the Chargers and get back to their winning ways, even though they beat Houston big time last week? So San Diego and Denver, Bullock, number 3 game of the week. Who you got in this AFC West showdown, this pivotal AFC West showdown?
Boy, I mean, the Chargers, like you said, I mean, they've been playing well as of late, and especially coming off of that win over the Falcons. So it's possible they could go into Denver and pull off the upset. But as far as the injury report, Travis Benjamin with a knee injury is listed as questionable. As far as the Broncos, Aqib Talib with a low back injury is questionable, and linebacker DeMarcus Ware is out with a forearm. But the big story here, C.J. Anderson with a knee injury. He is not only going to be out, but he's been put on injured reserve, and he is eligible to return in 8 weeks. So, but a huge loss for them offensively. So, I mean, and of course, Denver also coming off of a win over Houston. So, I mean, even with those key losses there for the Broncos, I mean, you still got Demaryius Thomas, you still got Emmanuel Sanders, you still got that really good defense there. But I think San Diego's going to put up a really good fight here. Phillip Rivers is going to contribute big on the offensive side. So I think this is going to be a close one. My final score, I'm going to say 30-23 is going to be my final score. So, yeah, so there's really nothing more for me to say. So, Florio, I give it to you.
Week 8 has the largest playoff impact on the San Diego Chargers. They will have a 47% chance of making the playoffs with a win, but that would fall to 18% with a loss. FPI favors the Denver Broncos to win by 7 points, the largest advantage of the week. I have never been a fan of when divisional rivals play each other twice in 3 weeks, and that is what we have here. The Chargers gave the Broncos their second loss of the season in a row at Qualcomm Stadium 2 weeks ago on a Thursday night, and they followed that up with a strong overtime victory against the Falcons. Phillip Rivers is playing well, but I think that the Denver defense will have something for him this week at home. So needless to say, I'm going with the Denver Broncos as well. After what they did against Brock Osweiler and the Houston Texans on Monday night, they beat them down 27-9. And Broncos are definitely back on track. So even though San Diego's been playing well, you know, they got that big win against Denver a couple weeks ago on the Thursday night, and then they go into Atlanta and steal one in the Georgia Dome, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. But nonetheless, Simeon's going to have a good enough game, I think. The loss of C.J. Anderson is definitely going to hurt the Broncos. He is their spark plug, as I call it. Michael Fletcher knows all about that from our commentary. He can tell you that firsthand. I don't just use that in baseball. I use that in football, too. Anderson was the spark plug for that team, but I don't know who's going to be their top running guy now. It's probably going to be Hillman, I guess. So, but you still got Demaryius Thomas. You still got Emmanuel Sanders. And you still got Virgil Green as well. And I think I think that alone should be enough for the Broncos. Plus, they still have that rock-solid defense, that unreal defense that, I'm a huge fan of, and I love that defense. I mean, I got their defense on my fantasy team along with Seattle's defense. I got 2 of the best defenses. I got really lucky on the defensive side. So, thank you, Lord, for that. So, So with that being said, because of that Denver defense, I think the defense is going to make a big play towards the end, which I think will have a crucial impact on the game. So give me the Denver Broncos in this one. They'll get their revenge on the Lightning Bolts. My final score, 21-14. The Denver Broncos over the San Diego Chargers in Denver. Should be a great game. It always is with these two. Michael Fletcher and I can tell you firsthand, we've seen some great Charger Bronco games over the years. So MF, let's bring you on in. San Diego, Denver, huge game in the AFC West. It's only fitting it's the top 3 game of the week.
No doubt about it. And like you said, for San Diego, this could be their season. If they don't win this game, they're really in some dire straits, because at that point, the wild card could be a loss for them. Like you said, 48% if they win, 17% if they lose. So 18%. Well, all right. So one added percentage point. What difference does it make? If you don't win, you're screwed either way. So I mean, at the end of the day, you just have to handle your business. You got to win this game. Phillip Rivers, it looks like they got the formula for it, but can they really deliver? I think, and no CJ Anderson. That means Booker's going to have to be the guy now, and he's going to have to be the heart and soul, at least, of the running attack. But you got a two-headed monster, Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, and Trevor Siemian has been really good as of late. We saw what they did on Monday night and how potent both men were in that game, and Booker was really good as well. So great matchup, great battle. I got to go with Denver in that Mile High Air. I think they're going to get the job done. They're going to win this game. 27-17 is my final score. There's really nothing more to say, so let's just move on.
And gentlemen, we are moving on to, according to Fox anyways, to what they call America's Game of the Week. And oh boy, what a game they got here. This was originally the Arizona-Carolina spot, but they swapped it with flex scheduling, and what a huge game we have in our 425 slate here. Oh boy. The Green Bay Packers going up against the Atlanta Falcons in the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. Game's on Fox. And calling this game for Fox, you already know who's going to be there. Tom Brenneman with Troy Aikman and Aaron Andrews. Of course, Tom Brenneman filling in for Joe Buck as he continues his World Series commitments. This will be his last week doing so. Joe Buck should be back the following week. Wouldn't surprise me. So, but yeah, Brenneman, Aikman, Andrews will be there for the Packers and the Falcons. And the spread favors the Atlanta Falcons by 3. 3-point spread for the Atlanta Falcons. And the series history favors the Green Bay Packers 15-12. They've won each of the last 3 regular season meetings in a row. Technically 4 if you count the playoff game. You remember they had that divisional game in January of 2011 on a Saturday night in the Georgia Dome, and the Packers pounded the Falcons to a pulp, 48-21. And the Packers have won the last 3 regular season meetings after that. 2011, they went into the Georgia Dome again and beat them 25-14. That was the last time they met in the Georgia Dome, by the way. The other 2 meetings were in Lambeau. 22-21 Green Bay in 2013, and 2014 was a 43-37 Packer win as well. Falcons' last win over the Packers was 2010. That was in the Georgia Dome, 20-17. Of course, the Packers got their revenge a few months later in that divisional game. Packers, of course, went on to win the Super Bowl 45, as you all know, against the Steelers in Jerry World. And this game, gentlemen, the number 2, count it, number 2 game of the week. I believe I start this one off, and wow, what a game for me to start on. Oh boy. Matt Ryan leads the NFL in passing yards and faces a Green Bay Packers team that could be missing its top 3 cornerbacks. FPI favors the Atlanta Falcons by a point to end their 4-game losing streak to the Pack. It was against the Bears, but it was a much-needed quality performance from Aaron Rodgers after he got off to the worst start of his career. Considering that the Falcons have been getting into shootouts all season long thanks to a strong start to the season from Matt Ryan, Rodgers will have to be on his game. On the road in the Georgia Dome, I'm not that optimistic. I got the Atlanta Falcons winning this game. It will be a high-scoring affair. You better believe that. Falcons are going to win it. My final score, 42-35. The Atlanta Falcons over the Green Bay Packers in the Georgia Dome. Matt Ryan's going to have a huge game. Devontae Freeman, huge game. Tevin Coleman, huge game. Julio Jones, you know he's going to have a big game. The Packers, of course. Aaron Rodgers, he's going to have a big game. I know Lacey's battling some injury issues, but they'll probably have James Starks as far as the backup plan for running game goes. They still got Jordy Nelson. They still have Richard Rodgers, but there is an injury concern with Randall Cobb. That could be a major difference maker if Cobb cannot go, because he is Cobb. I mean, Cobb is Aaron Rodgers' number 2 go-to guy, only behind Jordy Nelson. So we got to watch out for that. And plus, like I said, they're going to be without 3 of their starting cornerbacks. That alone is why I'm going with Atlanta right there. So it's going to be a 5-star classic. It's going to be Shakespearean drama. And for an offensive junkie like me, you better believe I'm going to have a hell of a lot of fun watching this game. You better believe it. And we're getting this on Fox Providence, oh, by the way. So thank you, Lord. Looking forward to it. 42-35, Atlanta over Green Bay in the Georgia Dome. This is going to be hella fun for me. I can't say the same for good old MF here, because of course we all know he's all about that defense. And sorry, MF, you ain't gonna get no 9-6 mud rain bowl slop game here in the Georgia Dome. Packers Falcons, number 2 game of the week. Your thoughts on this big one?
No, I'm not. But what I will say is Green Bay. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna anger a lot of Packer fans right about now. And you know me, Cerebral Viper style, I will not even care. I'm not convinced about Green Bay. I don't. I think they're a good team. I just don't think they got a really good defense that can really pressure or put any worry about Matty Ice with Julio Jones, with all them boys. And then you got a running attack, even though Coleman is out. But the problem is that you got Freeman in there, and he's just as much of a beast as than anybody else in that game. I just don't see how Green Bay can hang in there. I mean, Adams will get him. Jordy Nelson will probably get his, even though Nelson's been witness protection. I mean, God knows what's been happening with him lately. Aaron Rodgers has been getting a little roughed up in recent games, even though he did pretty good lately. But at the end of the day, I'm sorry. I'm with Atlanta, and Anthony kind of went a little more higher scoring, and fine, I can see that. But this is not going to be close. I'm sorry. I don't think so. My final score is 38-21. I think Atlanta is going to run Green Bay right out of the dome. With that said, Michael Bullock, I give it to you.
Bullock, you with us? All right. I guess I'm going to have to take over. That's right. I already gave my thought. That's right. So I guess we're just going to have to move on to Sunday Night Football now. I guess Bullock's down for the count. Just give me a second here. Let me get into this now. Sunday Night Football on NBC. We got another big one here. Huge game in the NFC East. The Philadelphia Eagles going up against the Dallas Cowboys. NBC Sunday Night Football. You already know who's calling this game. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tafoya. They'll be in Jerry World, Cowboys Stadium, AT&T Stadium, Arlington, Texas. Spread favors the Dallas Cowboys 4 to 4.5. And series history favors the Dallas Cowboys 61 to 49. The last year they split both meetings, both teams winning on the road. Dallas winning in Philadelphia 20 to 10, and Philadelphia winning in Dallas 33 to 27 in overtime. Matter of fact, the Eagles have won the last, I want to say, 2 or 3 meetings now in Dallas. 3 meetings, yes. 2012 was the last time the Cowboys won at home against the Eagles. That was a 38-33 final. So that's the series history there. And the game rater, I mean, I can't believe this game didn't make the top 5, honestly. This just missed the top 5. This game came in at number 6. A matchup of this magnitude, I thought would have been a lot higher. I thought it would have been top 5 at the least. So number 6 is where this game comes in. And Meth, you're going to have to start it off because I guess we've lost Bullock for the night, I guess. So my Meth, huge Sunday night football game. The last few have been god-awful, but I think this one this could be the best Sunday night game we've had in weeks, Philly and Dallas.
Philly and Dallas is definitely going to be that game. You never know how that's going to play out. Philadelphia coming off a huge win last week. A lot of people started to really question the Eagles, wondering what they were going to do, the whole 9 yards, after they basically laid an egg in the last 2 games. And then all you just do was basically knocked off the number 1 team in our power rankings, knocked them off so bad that, boop, bye, see ya. They're gone, boys. They're not even in it this week. They're out of here. Minnesota Vikings went from number 1. They went from the penthouse to the owl house in one foul swoop, man. Basically, my boys, I'm going to say it like this. My boys in the Sayonara gang, if you ever remembered the that old TV show. It was a TV show on ABC. We were just called "I Can't Believe I Survived a Japanese Game Show." At the end of the show, they used to have this crew called. There was like a bunch of kamikaze guys that used to be called the Sayonara Gang, and they basically grabbed a whole bunch of those Minnesota Vikings. They took that skull horn that Anthony likes, and they tossed them out of our power rankings house. You're not welcomed here anymore, boys. You're out of here. Get your butts out of here. You ain't coming. You ain't welcome. And we locked the door on them. They're not gonna be in here this week. I can guarantee you that much. The other thing is that for the Philadelphia Eagles, big win. Now you got to improve. Now you got to prove against a really good team, a really good Dallas Cowboy team that was on bye last week. So they didn't have nothing to worry about. They had 2 weeks to prepare, which is always a great thing to prepare for the big battle. This is a big game in Big D. What do you do, Dallas? Just defensively, just keep the pressure on. Now, there is a problem. We don't know what the full status is for Dez Bryant. If Bryant plays, I think Dallas wins this in a laugher because you got Ezekiel Elliott, who I believe right now is possibly the offensive rookie of the year with the way that he's been playing. Unbelievable. Dak Prescott been a great quarterback for them so far, a godsend for Dallas to say the very least up to this point. And a lot of people are believing that he should be the quarterback, even though Tony Romo's about, I heard, maybe 2-3 weeks away from coming back. But we'll wait and see what happens then. But it's going to be interesting to watch. So I'm with Dallas. I think they're going to win this game. This is going to be a very good matchup. Nothing more to say. I got the Cowboys winning. My final score is 28-14. Anthony, I give it to you.
if the Philadelphia Eagles want to have a realistic shot of winning the competitive NFC East, they need to win Sunday, or their chances of winning the division will drop to 12%. The Dallas Cowboys have the highest offensive efficiency, and the Eagles have the second highest defensive efficiency. Hopefully, this will break off some god-awful primetime contests as it features the two best teams in the NFC East and two of the finer rookie quarterbacks. The Eagles looked good and were able to out-physical the Minnesota Vikings at home, but their offense still didn't look that great, and Wentz was not as good as he looked earlier in the season. At home and with a strong offense powered by rookies and a decent defense, I like the Dallas Cowboys in this game as well. I agree with you, Michael Fletcher. I'm right there with you. I have the Dallas Cowboys winning, but I think it's going to be closer than you think. You have Dallas winning by 2 scores? No. I like Dallas in this one a little closer. My final score, I'm going to go 31. I'm going to go 31-24, maybe 31-28. But nonetheless, I got the Dallas Cowboys winning it. I'm leaning more towards 31-24. That's going to be I think it's 31-24. The Dallas Cowboys over the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday Night Football. Dak Prescott, big game. Ezekiel Elliott, big game. They might have Dez Bryant back, and if Bryant is back, that's going to tilt the advantage in favor of Dallas. No question about that. And along with Witten and Terrence Williams and Cole Beasley, who I know Michael Fletcher's very grateful to have on his fantasy teams. I know he's been paying immediate dividends for him. So that's really all I can say about that. So yeah, give me the Dallas Cowboys in what should be one of the better Sunday night games we've had in a while. So 31-24 Dallas wins. And now we move on to our final game of the week, Monday Night Football on Halloween night. Oh boy. The Minnesota Vikings going up against the Chicago Bears at Soldier Field in Chicago. This game's on ESPN, of course. You know, Monday Night Football, you know who's going to be there. Sean McDonough with John Gruden and Lisa Salters. They'll be in Chicago for the Vikings and the Bears. Spread favors the Minnesota Vikings. 4 to 6 points is the spread for Minnesota. And the series history favors the Minnesota Vikings as well. 57-50 with 2 ties. First one in 1963, that was in Chicago, 17 all. And the other was in 1967, 10 all. And matter of fact, the Minnesota Vikings have won the last 3 meetings in this series. Minnesota swept last year. They won in Chicago 23-20. And then again, 38-17 in Minnesota. Minnesota won in Minnesota last year, 13-9. Well, I should say in 2014, rather. And then the Bears won in Chicago, 21-13 in 2014. That's the last time the Bears won, just 2 years ago. Minnesota won there last year. So I think I gave you the schematic on that. And the game rater, this game came in at number 8, which meant the Thursday night game with Jacksonville and Tennessee was the second worst game of the week at number 12. So since we've lost Bullock for the night, that this goes back to me. So the Chicago Bears have scored 111 points, tied with the Seattle Seahawks for the fewest in the NFL. Don't expect it to get easier against the Minnesota Vikings, who have the most efficient defense in the league. FPI has the Bears as the biggest home underdog of the week at nearly 5 points. Interesting. It was the Vikings that got pushed around on Sunday as they suffered their first loss of the season in Philadelphia. Fortunately, they get the bounce-back opportunity against the Bears team that is not only truly dreadful, but may have to start Matt Barkley if Jay Cutler is not good to go. Therefore, the Minnesota Vikings are my lock of the week. 17-0. The Minnesota Vikings will shut out the Chicago Bears at Soldier Field on Monday night on Halloween. The defense is going to absolutely fluster Matt Barkley. That defense is going to reign supreme on the Bears, and Bradford will do enough. Diggs, Rudolph, maybe we'll see some Asiata in the running game, but it's going to be all about the purple people eaters, baby. 17-0. Minnesota all over Chicago on Monday night. So, MF, your thoughts on this Monday night game on Halloween night?
I agree with the shutout for the most part, but I think that Chicago will be able to muster 3 points here. My final score is actually 21-3, Minnesota. I just think that, like I said, you were absolutely right about everything else, but I do believe that they're going to get the job done here. So 21-3. That's it. On to the rankings.
And MF, you started off. Who do you have at number 10?
All right, my number 10 this week, I'm going to punish them a little bit, but they deserve to be here regardless. And I know a lot of people are going to start saying, oh, you got to be kidding me. Well, I'm going to do it. Out of respect for Anthony, it's the Buffalo Bills. The reason why that they're here is because they only lost by 3 points. It was a 28-25 final score between them and the Miami Dolphins, and thus I can't punish Buffalo too hard about it. It wasn't a complete and utter blowout. What happened at the end was Buffalo scored a late touchdown. Reggie Bush got a touchdown literally at the waiting seconds of the game. I think like 15 seconds left, and that kind of took the game from 28-17 to 28-25. And I'll even admit this. If it would have been 28-17, Buffalo would have been gone from the power rankings. They would have been out. But because of the fact that they only lost by 3, I told Anthony I was going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I was going to keep them where they were. So out of respect, like I said, my dud of the week is Minnesota. They're out. They're gone. They're out the door. Goodbye. So long. Don't let the door hit you on the rear end on the way out. So when I was trying to do these power rankings, this was not an easy decision for me. So, like I said, my number 10 is the Buffalo Bills. Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, I agree. Buffalo Bills, number 10. I mean, they still deserve to be in the rankings because, before that, they were playing some great ball. They had won 4 in a row. I'm not at all surprised they got tripped up by the Dolphins. Some may be surprised, but I'm not. I mean, Buffalo hasn't really had that much success in Miami after all. And that's why Miami's owned Buffalo in the all-time series. But a tough luck 28-25 loss to the Miami Dolphins doesn't get any easier. I mean, they've got a murderer's row schedule for the next few weeks. I mean, they got to play New England at home. Then they got to go to Seattle. Good luck on a Monday night. Then they have a bye week, and then after that, they got to go to Cincinnati. Their next easy game is not until Thanksgiving weekend at home against Jacksonville. So I'm not overly optimistic. I don't like Buffalo's chances against any of those 3 teams, honestly. Especially New England, even though it's at home. And then against Seattle in the 12th man, in the Legion of Boom, no. And then at Cincinnati's starting to come around a bit. I'm not confident. Their next win, count on it. Their next win will not be until Thanksgiving weekend against Jacksonville. And then they have 2 more tough games at Oakland and then home against Pittsburgh. Yeah, good luck. And then they close the year against Cleveland, Miami, and the Jets. So there's a good chance Buffalo could end the season on a high note. Home games against Cleveland and Miami especially. They want revenge against Miami on Christmas Eve. That's the game. That's the game I've got circled. Believe me, and that's really all I can say about it. So, it was a tough one, but I'm gonna swallow my pride and, I mean, Taylor played fine. He threw a touchdown pass, no picks, but the Dolphin defense sacked him 4 times. That's not good. He was also the leading rusher with 35 yards. Shady McCoy did absolutely nothing, 11 yards. Taylor had a rushing touchdown, and Reggie Bush, like Fletch said, Goodwin, 93 yards receiving and a touchdown. That was a bright spot for Buffalo. Their defense only had 1 sack of Ryan Tannehill. That's all they were able to do. All they were able to muster. Lorenzo Alexander had that lone sack of him. But, it's on to the Patriots, and it's on to another Patriots ass whooping. And next week, the Buffalo Bills will be out of these power rankings for good. That's all I can say about that. Unless something miraculous happens or something out of the ordinary happens, I don't see it. So my number 10, it is the Buffalo Bills. All right. Moving on to number 9. I got to go with another tough luck loser last week, and but I do want to mention real quick. As far as duds go, I 100% agree with MF about the Minnesota Vikings. They're the biggest dud of the week, hands down. And my other dud is the Tennessee Titans. I had them in there last week. They're out after that tough loss to Indy, and they're down to 500. And I have one honorable mention, and that honorable mention is the New York Giants. I want to see a little more from the Giants. They've won 2 in a row, but I want to see a little more from them. They're on bye this week, so when they come back from the bye, if they do enough to sway me, I'll put the Giants in there in a couple of weeks. But I need to see a little more from them. I'm sorry. So Giants they're probably my number 11 if you really think about it. The Giants. So I had Buffalo at 10. My number 9, like I said, another tough luck loser of the week, Washington Redskins. Also 4-3. They lost to the Detroit Lions up at Ford Field, 20-17. And they've got a murderer's row schedule coming up as well. I mean, listen to this remaining schedule, MF. At Cincinnati, home to Minnesota, home to Green Bay, at Dallas, at Arizona, at Philadelphia, home to Carolina. Their next easy game is not until Christmas Eve at Chicago. Yeesh. If that's not a murderer's row schedule, you tell me what is. Yeesh. I would be very surprised if the Redskins can actually steal one of those games. Seriously. Against that tough schedule, no way. Kirk Cousins, great game, 301 yards, a touchdown, no picks, but he got sacked twice. Chris Thompson was the leading rusher with 73 yards. Jamison Crowder, 108 yards receiving. Vernon Davis, 79 yards receiving. And the defense, their defense did play well. The defense recorded 3 sacks of Matthew Stafford, so I'll give them that. Ryan Kerrigan, Trent Murphy, and Preston Smith had the sacks of Matthew Stafford. But it was not enough, I'm afraid, as they lost to the Detroit Lions. The Lions will be in the power rankings, no doubt about it. I just don't know where to spot them right now, considering how well they've been playing right now. So that's really all I can say about it. So number 9 is the Washington Redskins. So MF, agree or disagree?
This is a tough one, but I have to go with you on this one as well. I'll give it to Washington. They get the benefit of the doubt here. I'm not gonna say that they truly deserve it, but I mean it's an apples to oranges type situation. So yeah, I'll see you there with that one, and I won't make too much of an argument here. So yeah, my number 9 is the Washington Redskins, and therefore mention, I guess I could lead the way, and I'll go with my number 8. And I'm actually gonna surprise a few people with this one, and I know a lot of people are gonna be really giving me a hard time about this, but I got to do it. My number 8, and this is going to shock a few people, but I think this is the first time they've been in the power rankings all season long. I don't think they've been in the rankings at all year. Welcome to the power rankings, the New York Football Giants. Welcome to the rankings, boys. At number 8, they're 4-3 as well. Winners of 2 in a row, even though, their last 5 games have not been so great. They've lost 3 before they won the last 2. But the Giants have done enough in my eyes, including a win in London. Well, not in London, but they won last week over Jacksonville. And, there's been a couple of other games here and there. Wait. Is it Giants? Have they won 2 in a row? Yes, it has. It is the Giants. So, no, I'm not gonna start doing the I believe in Eli just yet. I still need to see a little more. I still need to see a little more from my boy O OB3 or OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr. But if they start getting going, if the defense can turn around, and that's the weird thing, the defense is really the reason why the Giants really did great, because Eli hasn't been that great, Beckham hasn't been that great. It's like their offense has been bad lately, and that's been one of the most scary things. But what's been keeping them ahead, or what's been keeping them kind of afloat, has actually been their defense lately. So if their defense gets going, if their defense keeps doing what they're doing, and then if their offense starts to get going, look out. We might have a really good situation on our hands if you're a New York Giant fan. But with that said, my number 8 for the first time this season, the New York Football Giants. Anthony Florio, what says you?
Well, that's an obvious disagreement because I had them as my honorable mention. The Giants, they didn't really do enough to convince me against the LA Rams in London. I think that was like a 17-13 final or something like that. Didn't overly impress me enough to warrant them going in. They're on the outside looking in. They're almost there. Get back to me in a couple of weeks, and then we'll see. But I know this is probably going to be. I know this is going to be controversial here, but we're no strangers to controversy on this show. So I had this team at number 8 in my rankings last week, but because of the result that they had, I'm going to keep them at number 8, even though they didn't do anything overly special. The game ended in a tie, I know, but the Arizona Cardinals are still my number 8 because remember, a tie means you don't win, tie means you don't lose. So I had to keep them here at number 8. It's almost like the bye week rule. If a game ends in a tie, if you have a team in the rankings the previous week, you should keep that team where they were the previous week in your rankings, no matter where you had them. I had Arizona at number 8, and good Lord, was that game awful. I mean, I went into great detail about that earlier in the show. I mean, good Lord. I mean, that was a game Michael Fletcher could have been proud of because that was
I was proud of that game. Holy cow. I couldn't believe it. But the thing is, it wasn't bad defense. I mean, what the heck got into the kickers?
Butterflies in their stomach, I guess.
Oh my God. That was the most brutal thing of the game. Their defense, both Seattle and Arizona's defense, were amazing. But the kickers, man, come on. Point blank ranges, and you miss?
But they did have one offensive bright spot. Carson Palmer. He still threw for 342 yards. Amazing. And the defense only had one sack of Russell Wilson. That's really all that they did. David Johnson, 113 yards rushing. That's another bright spot. And J.J. Nelson, 84 yards receiving to lead the receiving corps. Catanzaro's struggles continue. Well documented because of what happened in that opening night game against New England. Chandler Jones had the lone sack for Arizona. So yeah. It's just like the bye week rule, but it's a tie in this case. I had Arizona at number 8. I'm going to keep them at number 8 because they didn't win and they didn't lose. So that's it. So with that being said, we got to move on to my number 7. And my number 7, this team last week was one of my dud teams, but they're back in the power rankings this week after a great performance. My number 7, back on track, the Green Bay Packers. They're my number 7. Um, they're 4-2. I get it. It was against the Chicago Bears, whatever, but it was the way that they did it, though. That's how you handle a third enhancement team. They won it 26-10 on that Thursday night game. And Aaron Rodgers, 326 yards, 3 touchdown passes, no picks. He got sacked twice, but that's okay. Defense with 2 interceptions and 1 sack of Matt Barkley. Running game did next to nothing, but the receiving core, though. Devontae Adams, 13 catches, 132 yards, 2 touchdowns. Randall Cobb, 11 catches, 95 yards and a touchdown. Ty Montgomery with 126 all-purpose yards despite no touchdowns. That's still very good. And defense recorded a sack, Nick Perry. And Perry also had an interception as well. 1 sack, 1 interception for Nick Perry. And Blake Martinez with an interception as well, 4 yards on the return. But the Pack are back, 4-2, a game behind Minnesota in the NFC Norris, if you will. So that's really all I can say about it. They're back on track, so they convinced me enough. So my number 7 is the Green Bay Packers. Agree or disagree with that, MF?
I'm gonna agree with that, but I'm gonna lump this together because I actually have a tie at number 7. Yes, I know I'm stunned myself. I have Green Bay there at number 7, agreed, but I also have the Philadelphia Eagles here. I think the Eagles, after what they did to the Minnesota Vikings and that massive, stunning upset win and the way they handled their business, they skyrocketed into the power rankings. I mean, the Eagles was probably in the mid 15 down near the 20 range, and they just blasted off in my eyes. I mean, that was a humongous win for them, and I didn't even see that one coming. That's how great that thing was. So for me, this was easy. So my number, I have a tie at that ranking there. So I have the Packers and the Eagles together. They're lumped. Now I guess what are we at number 5 now?
6.
Number 6. Okay. Well, my number 6, and this is where I'm going to have, and I know I'm probably going to get a little bit of a disagreement here, but, it is what it is. My number 6 is actually going to be, am I going to put you know what? No. Okay. This is one of those situations where, as much as I would like, well, no, actually, I'm going to put the Kansas City Chiefs here because I'm trying to remember where we had Seattle last week. I know they were in the top 3, and because of that bye rule that you were talking about, or because of the tie, I'm not going to move them up or down. So I'm trying to see where
You're trying to figure where you had them. I know where I had them.
Top 3, right?
Just shy of it. I had them at number 4.
You had it 4. Yeah, because I think I agreed with you and put them at 4 there. So I'm trying to work things around, trying to finagle this so that it actually pans out. Because I'm gonna say this: my top 3 is pretty safe. I know who my top 3 are, but once we get to 4, 5, 6, it becomes a little bit of a treachery type thing. I'm telling you, that tie really hurt everything. Like, it messed everything up in my eyes, because now it makes it even more difficult to try to put the situations to bed, because this isn't like your typical bye week. But when it's a tie, it's like, ugh, what are you supposed to do? at that point, because we hardly ever get ties in the NFL, but for the first time in a number of years, we got one, and now we gotta deal with all this. So who knows? But Kansas City Chiefs goes here. They're 4-2, winners of 2 in a row. There's really nothing for me to say. So Anthony, it's yours.
My top 4 are no-brainers. I'm going to be real honest with you. My top 4 are no-brainers. These next couple of spots are really tough because I've got ties in both of these because of certain records and the whole 9 yards. And you know what? I'm just gonna go with my gut here. Okay. Yeah, I think this is good. Slight disagreement, MF. I got KC just a smidgen higher. I actually got KC in my top 5, if I'm going to be real honest with you. I have it. This is the first of 2 ties I have. All right. I'm actually going to make one more quick change, and that's it. I feel good about this. Okay. All right. Now I've got it. Number 6s. First number 6. It's a slight disagreement here. Add the heck with it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to do it like this. 2 teams in the AFC West. My number 6s rather. The Kansas City. You know what? I'm actually going to agree with MF and the Kansas City Chiefs. And my other number 6 is going to be the Oakland Raiders. That's how I feel about it. KC and Oakland are my number 6s. Let's get into KC. They've won 2 in a row. They defeated the New Orleans Saints last time out, 27-21. They go to Indianapolis this week, and for the Chiefs, Alex Smith, 214 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Defense recorded a sack and a pick of Drew Brees. Spencer Ware, 77 yards rushing. Receiving core was Spencer Ware, 54 yards and a touchdown. Tyreek Hill had a touchdown as well. And 1 pick and 1 sack for the defense. And Daniel Sorensen had them both. Daniel Sorensen had the sack and the pick. And that pick, he ran back all the way for a touchdown, 48 yards. So yeah, nice win for KC. They're 4-2, half a game out behind Oakland and Denver in the AFC West. And 27-21, they've won 2 in a row. Like what I see from them. I like them to make it 3 in a row against Indy, but we'll see. Indy's a tough team, so we'll see. So first number 6 is Kansas City. I'm going to give MF the benefit of the doubt on that one. And my other number 6 is the Oakland Raiders. 33-16 over the Jacksonville Jaguars. And looking at what the Raiders did, Derek Carr, 200 yards and a touchdown. Defense recorded 2 interceptions and 1 sack of Blake Bortles. Latavius Murray, 59 yards and 2 touchdowns in the win on the running game. Michael Crabtree, 96 yards and a touchdown to lead the receiving core. 2 interceptions for the defense. Reggie Nelson, 1 for 40 yards. And David Amerson with the other. And it was Khalil Mack with the sack of Blake Bortles. 33-16 winners over the Jacksonville Jaguars. And they're tied for first with the Denver Broncos in the AFC West. And next week, they meet on Sunday Night Football. Oh, boy. Oh boy. Is that going to be a lot of fun? That's all I can say. So those are my number 6s. And I believe I start off the top 5. So I have no doubts about this. My number 5s, this first one might shock some people, but I don't care. One of them is the Detroit Lions, and the other is the Philadelphia Eagles. I feel Philadelphia should be in the top 5, especially after what they did against Minnesota. But the Lions have won 3 in a row, 4-3, and they beat the Washington Redskins 20-17. They go against the Houston Texans on Sunday, and let's see what the Lions did. Matthew Stafford, 266 yards passing and a touchdown. Defense recorded 2 sacks of Kirk Cousins. Running game did nothing, but the receiving core, Marvin Jones, 94 yards, Golden Tate, 93 yards, Anquan Bolden, a receiving touchdown in the win, and a couple of sacks for the Lions. Amandi Bryant and Raphael Bush with the 2 sacks, and I really like what I've been seeing from this Lions team. They've won 3 in a row. I like them to make it 4 in a row against Houston on Sunday. So my first number 5 is the Detroit Lions, and my other number 5, Philadelphia Eagles. I mean, they really should be in the top 5, especially after what they did against Minnesota. 21-10 over the Vikings, handing the Vikings their first loss of the season at Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia on Sunday. Carson Wentz, 138 yards, a TD and 2 picks, but the defense, 6 sacks of Sam Bradford and an interception. Welcome back to Philly, Sam Bradford. Running game did really nothing. Matthews, 56 yards. Receiving core, nothing really. It was pretty much defense and special teams. I mean, Josh Huff, a 98-yard kickoff return touchdown and a 2-point conversion. Carson Wentz with a touchdown pass to Dorial Green-Beckham, and Sturgis made some field goals, and 6 sacks for the defense, like I said. 6 players with 1 sack apiece. Brandon Graham, Nigel Bradham, Jordan Hicks, Connor Barwin, Stephen Means, and Rodney McLeod. And McLeod also had the interception of Bradford as well. So McLeod doing some work. So, all right. We've lost Michael Bullock for the evening. Bullock just informed me that he has to leave because he has work commitments in the morning. So I'll see you tomorrow night for our Hell in a Cell preview, Bullock.
Yep,
no worries.
I will be around for it, and we'll do it at 11 p.m.
Sounds good to me, bud. See you then.
Yep, see you then.
All right, bye for now. And but that's not really a surprise. So all right, getting back to this. I mentioned about the Eagle defense there. So very impressive. Huge game Sunday night against the Dallas Cowboys. If they win that, they'll most certainly stay in the top 5. They'll be flirting with top 3 as far as I'm concerned. But we'll see what happens as far as that goes. So cone number 5's my last tie, I swear. Top 4 are easy. Detroit Lions, Philadelphia Eagles. MF, what says you at number 5?
All right, this is not going to be easy for me because my top 4 is actually easy. My number 5 is I actually put the Seattle Seahawks here, and the reason why is because of that tie. I had to bring it down just a little. I know. Once we do all the records and everything falls the way it should accordingly, I think it's a little more easier for me. So that was my prediction here. That's my way of playing it. So that's it. My number 5 is the Seattle Seahawks. My number 4, now this is tough. But, I mean, it's between the Broncos and the Raiders. I mean, it's those two. It's one of these two. Once I do my body of work and everything else, I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt, and I am going to give my number 4 to, let's see. Well, they both dominated. They both won practically pretty handily. Um, I'm probably going to get a disagreement from Anthony. Doesn't matter. Whatever. Denver Broncos is my number 4. Yeah, is actually my number 4. Yes. So I'm just gonna say it. This is a tough call for me, because of the way that they handled their business over the Houston Texans. I just feel like it was it's an apples to oranges type thing. So I'm sorry. That's the way I feel about it. My number 4 is the Denver Broncos. Anthony, uh, it's yours.
Slight disagreement, MF, only because of that tie. Um, I do get where you're coming from. The Seattle Seahawks are my number 4 because of the tie, because that's where I had them last week. That's where I got to keep them this week. Tie against Arizona, we all know that. Defense recorded 4 sacks of Carson Palmer. Wilson threw for 225 yards. Michael, 52 yards rushing. Doug Baldwin, 69 yards. Jimmy Graham, 53. Jermaine Kearse, 51. And 4 sacks for the defense, like I said. 2.5 sacks for Cliff Averill, and 1.5 sacks for Frank Clark. And that's pretty much the story there. So because of the tie, you can't move them up or down because they didn't win or lose. So it's a no harm, no foul situation. So my number 4, it is the Seattle Seahawks because of that. Number 3, this is where I have the Denver Broncos. I get where you're coming from here, MF. I agree with you there. Denver Broncos are my number 3. Back in the top 3, back in the rankings, actually, because they were one of my duds last week because they had lost 2 in a row and they had lost to San Diego, but they got back on track. 27-9 beat down of Houston on Monday night. A rude welcoming home for Brock Osweiler. They made his night a nightmare, to say the very least. They held him to only 131 yards passing, only managed 1 sack, but, and then Simeon, 157 yards rushing. 157 yards passing and a touchdown. C.J. Anderson, 107 yards rushing and a touchdown, even though they've lost him for the season now. I guess Devontae Booker's now going to be the top guy, and he had a solid game, 83 yards and a touchdown. And Booker's no slouch. We remember him in Utah last year when we were doing our college football show. So I think Booker could be a major weapon on the running game, especially now that Anderson is out. So we'll see what happens. Emmanuel Sanders, 86 yards. Demaryius Thomas, a receiving touchdown, 40 yards. 1 sack for the defense. It was... Actually, I don't see who got it. I don't know who got it, but it doesn't matter. But Denver won 27-9. Very impressive, to say the very least. So that's pretty much it on that. So my number 3, Denver Broncos. MF, your number 3.
Obvious disagreement. My number 3 is the Oakland Raiders. They're 5-2, but 4-1 in the last 5 games, and that's a mega reason why that I put them there. No doubt about it. I just think that they've been unbelievable all season long. I got nothing bad to say about that. My number 2. Oh man! All right, I'm gonna say this. If it wasn't for the bye week, this would have been my new number 1. But because of the bye, Dallas, I'm sorry, guys. The bye week rule bit you. And that's the problem. And that's the one major problem I had with this one, is because in any other time, this would have been the Patriots. I swear to you guys, Patriots should be number 2 in my eyes. But because of that bye week and because of that decree that we've made, you can't move them up. You can't move them down. Dallas, I'm sorry, guys. This bye week rule screwed you, because you guys, unofficially, you're my number 1 team. And I'm laying it right out for the whole world to know. Dallas is unofficially my number 1 team. But because of the bye week rule and because of the decree that we've made, because of all this strictly sports stuff, we've said it for a number of years. If your team is on a bye, you can't move up, you can't move down. Dallas, I'm sorry, guys. You're stuck at number 2. I can't move you guys up. I would love to, but I can't. So my number 2 is Dallas. Anthony, what says you?
Dallas Cowboys number 2. Same reason, the bye week. And we made the decree on last night's College Football Thursday, if you didn't hear it. We're going to implement it for the remainder of this season on both shows, but starting next season on both shows and every show going forward, every year going forward, what have you, no more bye week rule. The tie will be our only snafu. If there's a tie, that's the only way there will be no up or down, no harm, no foul if it's a tie. But the bye week rule, it's gone starting next year. And that goes into effect for both shows. So I just want to make that real clear, because MF made it very passionate and was very vocal about that, and I don't blame him. So Dallas Cowboys are number 2, so that's pretty much it on that. Number 1, new number 1, familiar spot for this team in our power rankings. I don't know if any team has been number 1 in the power rankings more than this team has, but they are for this time around because of the bye week rule. It is the New England Patriots. They are number 1. 27-16 winners over the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. Tom Brady, 222 yards, 2 touchdowns. Defense only had 1 interception of Landry Jones. LeGarrette Blount, 127 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns in the win. Gronk had 93 yards receiving and a touchdown. Rob Gronkowski, James White had the other receiving touchdown to go with 32 yards. Malcolm Butler. Sound familiar? Malcolm Butler, of course, the hero of Super Bowl 49 against Seattle. He had the interception of Landry Jones. And they've won 3 in a row. Ever since Brady came back, they're 3-0. They have the Buffalo Bills coming up. They should win that one, honestly, because they've owned Buffalo, especially Brady. And looking at their remaining schedule, I mean, they got Buffalo coming up. Then they got a bye week. If they win against Buffalo, they'll stay number 1 because it's going to be the bye week. And then the Super Bowl 49 rematch on Sunday Night Football against the Seattle Seahawks on November 13th. Oh, boy, is that going to be a fun one. And then they got some easy games after. Then they got a very soft stretch after Seattle, because then they got to go to San Francisco. That should be a win. At the Jets, that should be a win. Home against the Los Angeles Rams, that should be a win. Home against the Baltimore Ravens on a Monday night, that should be a win. Their next tough game after the Seattle game will not be until December the 18th when they go to Denver in that AFC Championship rematch with the Broncos. And then Christmas Eve, they're at home against the Jets. That's an easy win. And then New Year's Day, trap game, and I do mean trap game, against the Miami Dolphins in Miami on New Year's Day at the end of the year. So we'll see what happens with that. So they're definitely in prime position yet again. So number 1, New England Patriots. MF, put it away.
Yes, indeed. Number 1 is indeed the New England Patriots. You know, we were saying that they got to show us, make us believe that, you know, everything is good. Hey, when you beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, that definitely is number 1 worthy. But like I said, if it wasn't for the bye week, I think New England would be number 2. Dallas would be number 1, and that would be that. But, you know, they got revenge on their mind. They got a big game. They have to beat Buffalo. If they win that game, then, yeah, they got a bye week. They'll go in at number 1 that next week. So they could be number 1 for 3 weeks in a row going in, because of the fact that, you know, everything is all retroactive to the week before. So they beat Buffalo. That we secure them the number 1 spot. Then we can't move them out of number 1 because they would be on bye at that point. So if New England wins, they're going to be number 1 for the possibly 3 weeks in a row. So nothing more to say. New England's number 1. That's that.
And that'll put the bow on this edition of Strictly Sports NFL Friday. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. MF, start us off on your shout-outs real quick, and then I'll do mine, and I'll set up the future content. Interesting future content coming up.
Yes, indeed. First off, I want to say thank you to all the great fans out there that makes the show as amazing as it is. Much love to the super fans out there. You guys know who you guys are. To my friends in the junior high and high school days, you guys know who you guys are. 2184 crew, love you guys to death. And that is basically it for me. So, unfortunately, I won't be here tomorrow night. I'm normally out on the town on Saturday nights. Always very tough for me to do Saturday shows. But I will be back on Sunday, and then, have a good Halloween on Monday, and then we'll see you on Tuesday. So with that said, Anthony, it's all yours. Have a good night, folks. Bye-bye for now.
All right. Thank you very much indeed, MF. Of course, special shout out to all of our tremendous fans and viewers out there who continue to make Strictly Sports, who continue to make our shows, whether it's ridiculous, whether it's all of our projects. We want to thank you also very much for watching all of our shows, whether it's Ridiculously Raw, Cerebral Smack Talk, College Football Thursday, NFL Friday, our pay-per-view previews and recaps. We just love what we do. So you are the best fans in the world. Thank you very much. So, of course, a special shout out to all of our super fans and friends. Of course, Dee Woodson, Kevin Woodson, and the entire Woodson family. Of course, Dee Woodson, the First Lady of the Wrestling Forum. Of course, Matt Ward, Jason Hicksonbaugh, Daniel Lachelle from the UK. First Ladies, Kaiser Butler, Megan Silva, and Lexi Calloway. Our other friends, Tommy Souza, Eric Carrier, Jimmy Alden, Alvarez, and Rob Parsons. And last but not least, of course, Derek Ferreira and Michael Bullock. And, of course, all of our local and national television personalities, Channel 6, 10, and 12, ESPN, ABC, NFL Network, NBA TV, NHL Network, MLB Network, the whole 9 yards, FS1, Olivia Harlan, Julie Alexandria, Julianne Pake Soto, Lindsay McCormick, Seda Sorrell, all our friends from the Road Show, Megan Mooney, Mary Larson, Will Gilbert, Brendan Kirby, Michaela Johnson, and last but not least, my church family at Oasis of Grace Ministries on 464 Silver Spring Street in Providence. If you need a home, check them out. Exit 25 off Route 95. Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Bible study, 10 a.m. or a little after the Sunday service. Wednesday at 7 Bible study. Some other things going on. So definitely check it out. And they're wonderful over there. I love them to death. Can't wait to see them Sunday. And that's it for my shout outs. And of course, tomorrow night at 11. Myself and Michael Bullock will be with you as we will preview the WWE Hell in a Cell pay-per-view / network special exclusive to Monday Night Raw. And then same time Sunday night, myself, Bullock, MF, and maybe Dee Woodson will be on hand for the recap of Hell in a Cell. And then Monday night, no Ridiculously Raw. We'll be off Monday night for Halloween. And then we'll be back with you on Tuesday night for the Cerebral Smack Talk over on MF's channel, Brace Fan 95, as we'll recap SmackDown Live. And then MF will have his Mikey's Mindset on ROH, Lucha Underground, maybe some RWA, some other things. And then Thursday, we'll be with you for another edition of College Football Thursday, headlined by two huge primetime games on Saturday night, next Saturday night, Nebraska against Ohio State and Alabama against LSU. And then next Friday for NFL Friday, right here on the Tone 25, and that's it. So until tomorrow night for the Hell in a Cell preview edition of the Wrestling Forum, it's Anthony Florio here and of course in spirit, Michael Fletcher, Michael Bullock, and Derek Ferreira. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it up Fortune 4 style. All right, for now, my friends, God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Saturday. Enjoy all the football. Of course, enjoy the World Series as that continues on. And until tomorrow night for the Hell in a Cell preview, be watching Strictly Sports NFL Friday right here on the Tone 25 and YouTube.com. For now, Anthony Florio. So long.